So basically, I'm a towering heroic figure, in case you didn't know. Welcome everybody to Google Plus Week. I am Dan McDermott, your heroic host of tech and bears, and I promise, at the end of the show, I will show exclusive footage. You got a little tease there of me with the black bear and discussing with the guy who owns the house that the bear had pooped all over his yard. So that's fun. So we hope you'll stay tuned for all that. And also, we have some tech news to talk about. So let me begin with that. And I'll go to my buddy Alan Furstenberg in New York. Alan, there's a birthday we're celebrating. Is it today or yesterday? Google's 15 years old, right?
They're officially celebrating it today. And, we covered this a couple of weeks ago. But the official celebration is today. Yesterday, they had a special press event in the garage where they were first founded. Dan, we have this comment from Jody that I wanted to bring onto the screen already. It's a bear show. So, folks, I'm glad I hope you bear with us. It's going to be a long night.
We've barely begun.
No.
So, yes, they brought the press out to the Google garage. They had some cake on all of Google's campuses. They had a piñata game on the Google homepage today. But I think the celebratory event that I like the most, and let me cut to a screen share here in a moment. The celebratory event that I like the most is that if you do a Google search for Google in 1998, you get their original homepage, their original search results page. And we have it here. I brought it up for you. So it has links like, why use Google?
What do you type? I'm going to share a better...
Do a search for Google in 1998.
Okay.
And I think what I find neatest about this is on the bottom, there are links that say, try your query on, and it lists about 10 other search engines that actually existed back then, of which I think only one still does. Nope, two. They actually have Amazon listed as a search engine as well. So there's a blast from the past for you.
That's cool. And also, if you folks want to actually look at real snapshots, you can go to archive.org, and you can just type in google.com.
So do we know what the actual
year
date was that Google started? Because from what I understand, it started a couple of years before that in the dorm room. Do we know the actual date that it started?
We looked this up a couple of weeks ago on Google does publish an official timeline.
The very first one is yes. The first snapshot was 1998, November 11. So I guess they were born before that, but that was the first archive grab.
What according to their official timeline, this is at google.com about company history. They started collaborating on their search engine around 1996 or so.
Yeah.
And in 1997, they registered google.com as a domain name. On September 15th, 1997, they registered the domain name. And it's in August of 98 that they get a check for $100,000 to create the company. And on September 4th, they file for incorporation, setting up workspace in a garage in Menlo Park, California. They hire their first employee, and by December, they're already getting press in PC Magazine. So,
but see, it's not cool to say that you started your company in a dorm room. It's much cooler to say you started it in a garage.
No, it's actually still pretty cool to say you started in a dorm room.
Well, that's
And,
what
you know,
they should
and they do say that, you know, that is where they started it, but the company itself, well, part of the problem is you don't want to found a company in a dorm room because then the college tries to lay claim to some of your company. Whereas if you started in a garage somewhere, it's a little more free and clear. And Craig, I see you're joining us from your offices in Venice.
There you go. Absolutely. Why not?
To celebrate the global nature of Google search.
Google Global.
Okay, so happy birthday to Google.
Yeah.
And I think the interesting thing to talk about is that they're actually talking about this as celebrating Google search. Yes, it's Google, the company that was founded, but they kind of put in the reminder that this is, you know, it all started with Google search. And that leads us into our next topic, which is part of the celebration that they've had this week for the birthday is that they've had a small pile of releases across all of Google's product lines. We're going to be covering just a few of them, mostly the ones that are focusing on Google+, you know, kind of hence the name of the show. And the first one that's on our list is that they've now enhanced how they're handling hashtags when you do searches on Google itself. So if you do a hashtag for, if you do a search for a hashtag space, not only will it give you search results, but it also will highlight Google Plus posts that meet that hashtag, and those posts are outlined in the sidebar. So they don't take up normal search result space. The posts themselves are going to show up on the side, and they're going to start streaming through. So you'll get a taste of what people are currently talking about that meet that hashtag. Has anybody else played with this yet? Anybody else have any thoughts on it?
Well, Alan, wasn't there something about the hashtags being discoverable only within Google and Google products? So, because I know Facebook recently introduced hashtags as well, but my impression was that the hashtags that were introduced outside of any of the Google properties would not be indexed in part of that stream.
Well, they're not, and part of the reason why they're not is they can't be. In order to actually get everything, Google would need to get all of that information. Facebook's never been interested in giving that to Google, and Twitter, you know, right about the time that Google Plus came online, Twitter discontinued their contract. And actually, let me rephrase. The contract between Twitter and Google was discontinued. I don't want to imply who canceled the contract or not. Dan, just so you know, Rich is talking about the sound is pretty low on the audio tonight. So, as usual, you may want to take a look at that.
Okay, I'll whoa. All right, so I've just raised it up some, and if you guys can let me know if that's an improvement, because I don't want to be overmodulated. So turn your speakers up, make sure it's not like, you know what I mean?
Okay.
And
the other thing to be aware of, though, Jody, is that even though it's putting the Google Plus results right in the sidebar, one of the other things is that it's providing links directly to Twitter and Facebook's searches for the same thing. So no, it's not including the same value. You know, it's not including the results for Twitter and Facebook, but it's sending you right there. Something have a drip. Craig, is your canal leaking behind you?
Popping in and out.
I thought I was hearing a drip. I was
It's gotta
wondering.
be it's Venice leaking.
I was wondering if Venice was leaking or something.
It's the beach.
Moritz is joining us via his new app. It's coming and going.
So-
Maybe he's fixing it as we speak.
So has anyone else played with you know, what other people think about this feature? Jeff.
Well, you know, I'm not a big hashtag guy to begin with, so you know, I just don't reference things that way. And I think hashtags eventually should go away anyways. You know, the searches just will eliminate that. So I'm not a big hashtag guy. Hashtag no.
Well, what do you think of the fact that your post can automatically be tagged? with, depending on what the context is.
Well, they're doing that anyways, aren't they? I mean, when I post in Google Plus, they're automatically adding those auto hashtags.
Right, but those basically it's creating these categories for you, and those can get searched by by this means. So it's not just whether you specifically categorize something.
Right.
It's what are the categories that Google might pick for your post as well. What do you think about that?
Well,
I like it. I think it's smart. I think it's helpful. I think it helps people find what they're looking for. It's one less thing that we have to do, and also it's an insight into the semantic search that they're implementing.
I think you hit it right on the nose, that really it's beginning to get into that semantic search capability. I was a huge critic of hashtags when they first made it to Google+, and I still think they're ugly beasts. But I think the way Google is treating them, not just as things that you can enter in, but as true categories, and being able to generate those categories automatically and indexing your own posts for you, I think that's pretty powerful. Bruce, what do we got?
Oh, yeah. Well, the first of the night, and just to celebrate the beautiful work that Moritz has done, we read, just in case you are not aware of it or not, Alan is always right. Thank you, Rich.
Thank you, Rich.
Alan, there you go.
One more thing on the hashtags. I look at them as keywords, and sometimes you type a posting in. Let's say you're sharing a video or whatever, and you want to just type a little sentence in about the video, but the video has to do with a Sony NEX camera. I might want to put a keyword Sony and a keyword NEX. Now, the fact that you type a £, and put the word, I mean, that, I don't know about that. That's a little bit kludgy. I mean, why can't we just at the end of our post put the words and separate them by commas? In effect, all we're really doing is just adding some keywords to our post, which we might not have put in the sentence or two that we wrote because we're lazy or whatever. And we're just trying to let people find that content that's related to those particular keywords.
So I think you're exactly right. They are keywords. Go ahead, Sreek.
I think it will make a difference when we have some kind of a breaking news or something, and somebody is trying to find information on Google. And I don't know, could be a bad news, could be a good news. You're going to search for it, and then, on the right side, the social side of it, people discussing from different areas, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just wondering, is it just going to rely on the hashtag itself, or is it going to display results from people who are in your circles, etc.? What are they actually looking at? What is the kind of feed that's coming through?
What they've said is that it will only show posts that you're permitted to. So if somebody shares something privately and it's tagged, and you search for that tag, you can see it, but somebody who isn't permitted to that post won't. So it respects the circles.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it will weigh the circles heavier, or if part of this is to help you as part of discovering things outside your circles.
One thing that's important, though, Alan, is context. And it's hard to do with an automated algorithm like this. For example, if let's say I was ranting about a major electronics store, I went in there to buy a Chromecast, and then you went on for 15 paragraphs about how the store was a horrible experience, and the Chromecast was just incidental to why you were there. You're just explaining what you were there for, but really it was a troll post about this store. Well, Chromecast would likely pop up as the hashtag, even though it wasn't in any way about Chromecast. That was just the reason you were there. It's like I saw a murder at a restaurant.
Sure,
and I was ordering a Big Mac, and then all of a sudden he went on and on. But this post isn't about the Big Mac. It's about you saw a murder in a restaurant.
Well,
and that's hard to get. No algorithm can get that.
Here's my Chromecast.
Whoa, Dan.
Right here. I got one right here.
Yeah.
But Dan,
Alan's about to be right.
You just kind of gave an example and then said no algorithm is going to get that. But the fact is, it is. The Google algorithms that are determining the hashtags, they may not be perfect, but they're really doing quite well.
How much you want to bet if I put the entire text of
figuring
War
out
and
what
Peace?
The post is about, not what keywords you might have dumped into it.
Someone test this. Go to some public domain book like War and Peace, grab like 30 pages of the text, and then put somewhere in the middle, make a new paragraph and put Chromecast, and paste it in a Google Plus post, and let's see what hashtag comes up.
Okay.
That'll be. I would love to be proven right or wrong on this, just because it's interesting. Can we invite someone by phone, Alan, into the call?
What was that?
We can invite somebody by phone, right? Because it's a private.
You can anyway. Well, I guess we all could. Yeah.
Okay. Let me check. I'll see if he wants to, and then if so, we'll do that. Go ahead.
Alan,
go ahead.
this essentially, since you mentioned about Twitter, right? I think sometime back we had this live feed going on Google search, and which eventually got replaced. So this kind of becomes a replacement functionality from a different social feed, obviously, for Google. Isn't that what it is really, right? I'm just curious.
I missed where you're going with this. Repeat the question.
No, I'm saying originally, maybe a year back or maybe a year and a half back, when we searched something on Google, we used to get a Twitter feed for a while, if you remember. There was a feature, and then as you said, when Twitter separated out with the deal with Google, right, and then instead of getting that live, I don't know whether it was a special Google search screen just to see the Twitter feed, or whether it was part of the primary Google search screen. I don't remember, but there was a way in which when you search, your search results will come along with the Twitter feed. This is very similar to that, but the social media it is ranking on is Google's own. That's the main difference as far as I'm concerned.
So if you did a search like #Ford Twitter, would you get all the information about someone on Twitter hashtagging Ford trucks or something? Would that be...
Hashtags essentially work on what is being tagged. It wouldn't go to Twitter.
But see that that kind of defeats how you'd want to do it, though.
Alan
as I do it right now.
Alan is a better man to explain that.
Well, if you do the hashtag search on Google, it does two things. One is it pulls up Google Plus posts that hit it, and then at the bottom of that, it gives you a link to Twitter to get the Twitter results.
Here, I'll just share my screen real quick if I can do this. It came up with this. Hold on, I gotta be quicker than this. That's what it showed, which is kind of interesting, because it's basically picking up the hashtag on Twitter, right? Which is kind of the way you'd want it to work, I guess, right?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
What it's doing in that case is it's finding pages that have the match, probably, not necessarily the text, because they probably can't get all the text. If you could do the same search but remove the word Twitter from there.
Oh, you get something. I did that before. You get something totally different.
Right, but yeah. While you're here, let's show people what you get.
Okay. And basically, you're getting,
So you're getting something even different than what I get.
Yeah. I'm getting Ford on Tumblr, Ford on Instagram, news, Vine.
But you will definitely get something that's different based upon whether you're logged in, you're both logged in, what other sites you've been to, where you're located. The searches that you do, it's no longer universal, it's personal.
Correct. Yeah. But when I put the Twitter moniker on it, right, I got a completely different subset, which was good.
Here's what I get, and what you can see on the right-hand side of my screen are Google Plus search results that are now scrolling through. And you'll see them moving.
Cool.
Okay? If you look at the bottom, it then says search Ford on Twitter or Facebook, and I can just click Twitter, and it'll send me to Twitter and do the hashtag search there.
Incidentally, Ford, if you're watching, we will take sponsorships.
Hey, what is the length of time it takes for a hashtag to appear? Is it instantaneous or in a few minutes after it analyzes more?
I don't know. You mean when does it get indexed? Probably pretty quickly.
All depends on Hummingbird.
Yeah, I'm still trying to paste in my copy of War and Peace. So I'm working on this test for you, Dan.
You can't do the whole book. I've tried it. I was trying to test. I don't know if it was A Tale of Two Cities or War and Peace or anything by James Michener. I was trying to test the length the max length of a post.
Just send it in an email. I'm sure.
Why don't you put the transcript of one of these shows in there? That'll test the max length.
Yeah, James Mister's got nothing on it. All right, so there. Hashtags. So moving on from the ratings bonanza that is the hashtag. Are we still talking about that?
Somebody just brought up local. Can we talk about local now?
Bruce, you had a comment before.
Yeah, Jody pushed it up too, and I thought it was interesting. I don't know if they're talking about Shriek or they're talking about Craig, but the guy in the red shirt needs a little bit of glamour lighting.
Yeah, they need to clarify which red shirt they're talking about. The red shirt with the blue ball, or the other one.
Did they say the older?
Identified that way, Craig.
Did they say
you don't want to
older?
call blue balls.
Oh my
I caught it.
Who said that?
Did we
We're
jump
still
the shark?
trying, Shriek, still trying to determine who they're talking about. So relax, we don't know yet.
Unless you have blue balls there
Yeah.
too.
So what was the topic you were talking about, Craig? Red
The
shirt
local-
guy
The local
in
one.
Venice. Okay, go ahead. Let's can we do that, Alan? We'll
Sure, because
Because-
I only had a whole bunch of segues carefully lined up, but yeah, sure, let's go for it.
Well, Jody brought up local.
Go for it. Go.
I didn't bring up
Talk.
locals.
side
Go,
topic.
talk.
Yeah,
Talk,
you
Craig.
said that
Special side
searches-
topic.
You said that searches are customized
Oh,
based
yeah.
on one of the criteria where you are. Okay,
Absolutely.
so that would be local.
And being logged in, and now it's all closed off. You can't get the information. That was one of the changes.
Talk, you're on.
Okay, so anyway, so we've talked about over the past several months, Dan has talked several times about local and about when we log in and sign up, for example, for Google+, one of the things that they should do is present friends of ours that are near us and say, okay, you might want to circle this person, right? So today I was at a client's office who actually is also a friend of mine, and I set him up on Google+. He signed up for a brand new account, brand new Gmail account, brand new Google+ account, and of course I had him circle me. He circled me while I was standing there in his office, and he's all set up. We did a Hangout. We did a Hangout on air. He verified on his cell phone, his identity and all that, so he could go live. And so obviously they knew who he was and where he was, right? And they knew that he had circled me. So I came back here half an hour later, and I figured, of course, I would have a notification that he had circled me because I was going to circle him back because I was going to invite him to be on the Frederick Week show next Friday. And so I searched through my notifications, not a word about him circling me. I searched for him, and of course he hasn't uploaded a picture yet. So there's all these blue, icons of all these people with the same name as him. I gave up after I looked through 10 of them. Couldn't find him. So I'll have him message me the URL tomorrow on Facebook or something, and I'll figure out a way to circle him.
There's truth in humor.
I mean, absolute true story.
I remember I was looking at Twitter, and the guy who's the big guy, mega upload guy, Kim.com, he tweeted that he had signed up for Google+, and it said, we don't think they delete or banned him or whatever because they're suspended or whatever the warning you get if they think you're impersonating someone. Mm-hmm. And he said, I can't believe this. So I shared it, said, oops, fail. And Vix happened to be on and saw it and said they're going to fix it, or we're on it or something like that, because this is the real Kim.com account. And so I went back later to see, just curious, like if he's actually active on Google Plus now, and it's completely impossible to find which one would be him. So yeah, it's frustrating when you're trying to find somebody. It's especially bad if you're trying to find someone who's a famous person and could have parody again, or if you're trying to find, the worst thing is if you have a famous name if your name were some celebrity's name, but you're not the celebrity. You just happen to be named, Frank Sinatra or whoever. That's a real problem. Trying to find that person online, period.
Yeah, and this guy's name isn't a super common name, but obviously it's common enough that there's probably, 50 of them that have Google accounts of some sort. And of course, most of those people don't have any photo uploaded, so I have no way of telling who they are. But I mean, it shouldn't have been rocket science for Google to figure out, A, that this guy circled me, because in fact he did circle me, B, that he's 4 miles away from me, and C, that they should also know, by the way, that we're Facebook friends. They should have enough information on me.
Okay. I was with you until that point.
They don't have access to that pipe.
The problem is they can't get
Sure
that
they
Facebook.
do.
No, they don't.
Absolutely they do.
No,
No,
Craig,
I don't think they
absolutely
do, Craig.
don't. When they tried,
All
Facebook
they have
shut
to
them
do
out.
is friend me. They can look at all my friends.
No, when they tried it, Facebook shut them out.
I've got my friends listed. People can go through and look at the people that I'm friends with, as long as they're friends of mine.
Craig, let me or Alan, I know that when Google crawls your site, you have the ability to put the robots.txt file.
You put the sitemap in there.
You can put up a nice sign that says "Please don't enter."
Okay, but here's my question. That means you can't store the data, period, or you can't store it in a publicly accessible archive. In other words,
no, Dan. Here's what it means. It means they are asking you nicely to not visit your site, not visit your site. But
are they
again,
voluntarily abiding by that, or are they by law abiding by that?
Voluntarily abiding by that. It is purely a volunteer. It is purely a convention.
Because your thing with Twitter,
there is no law, there is no protocol, there is no technical restriction. It's purely a sign saying, "Hey, Google, please don't come visit my site. Please, pretty please."
But they could, right? I mean, they could use it. Could they? Let's say you had the robots thing set up. You said no search engines. Does that mean that there's two uses here? There's one thing to say you can't put it in a search engine for public. There's another thing to use it for ads and other backroom stuff. Do you understand the difference that I'm asking?
Yeah. Can I answer?
Yes, you may now answer.
Robots.txt basically asks Google politely not to visit the site at all. Advertising is not handled with a robot. It's not handled with a search crawler, although I think it does do some search. It does. Basically, by doing it, you're giving Google permission to look at your site for obvious reasons. But all robots.txt is a polite request to go away.
What do you think the reason is, Alan? They use
the reason for what? Why robots.txt was invented?
No. But as far as to Craig's point, they make what, $12 billion a quarter, based largely on the fact that if I email you, hey, I think I need a new boat. My boat is leaking, and then you're reading the email, or at some point when I'm on Google or whatever, I'll see an ad, to buy a new boat repair, that kind of thing. So I'm totally cool with that because I get relevant results. So that's no problem. But why don't they use that same technology to realize that if Craig Shipp emails, Joe Smith or Sally Jones repeatedly through Gmail, I guess if it's actual contact in Gmail, then it does show up because I had that the other day. But
if you're writing to them at like a Comcast.net address or something.
No, if it's in your contacts, I just had that. I just said one of your contacts just signed up for Google+. I just had that message the other day.
If they use that same address.
Well, it's not just if they use
that's true.
Yeah, it boils down to if Google knows that there's this connection, they might be able to act on it. The problem is they don't always know that connection.
But for example, in the example that I gave earlier, they certainly should know the geographic location of both of us. I mean, they know for the IP address that I spend half of the time here in Thurmont, and this other gentleman's in Thurmont, and he circled me,
Well, but here's the
Shouldn't.
thing, though, Craig. Did he make his location public on his profile, or even listed?
Well,
on his
but
profile?
how does that matter? Google knows when he signed up for the Gmail account what computer he's using. They know where he's located.
It would know the IP address.
But
They know close enough.
Right, but they can't act on that. You want to know why they can't?
Sure should.
No, Craig. Here's the problem. If they acted on it, they'd get like every single privacy advocate in Germany beating down their door again.
Well,
They-
I don't
they-
know.
they are
I don't know
very-
how
Craig.
Facebook does it, but they sure as heck act on it.
Craig,
I think
Craig,
it has
here's
to
the
do with your
problem.
address book. Alan, tell me if this is accurate or not, but I think it has to do with what's in your address book. So if you're not in his address book, you're not going to show up.
That's a chicken and egg problem, and I can understand that. What I think, and I think Craig raises a legitimate point, to be perfectly honest. But
Wow.
I think what he's kind of, basically the question is, hey, if somebody is following me, I should be, in some cases, in general, I should be interested in knowing that, so I follow them. And how you pick or don't pick whether they're relevant to me or not's a good question. The thing is, using their IP address, no, that's a bad relevancy check. Especially if I have not said, hey, here's where I'm located.
Well, he gave them his phone number also. I mean, my gosh, how much information does he have to give them to where they feel like they
Craig,
can establish his location?
The question isn't what are they giving him. The question is the question isn't what is he giving them. The question is what is he giving them that is public knowledge.
Well, but Alan, in my example, he circled me.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's just a glitch. You should have got there. You should be able to see it. It's a glitch.
I don't understand why you didn't see it for various other reasons.
Yeah.
But you're trying to make a connection based on data that they can't act on and they shouldn't act on.
Right. But you're right. But Craig, you should have gotten a notification that he circled you. That is just that is how it should work. But it didn't work that way. So. Maybe he.
But see, I don't think they notify you when everybody circles you, because I don't. I remember back when I was getting a lot of people were circling me. I don't think I was getting notifications for everybody. I'd get notifications for a certain number.
There was a time when it seemed like they were notifying about a bunch of people, and then they would also say, "Oh yeah, and the following 90 people also happen to have followed you." But you didn't get notifications for them. I haven't seen that recently.
Yeah,
and
I
don't
don't
know what
think
happened to
they
it.
do that now. I think now they just notify you on a certain number. Of course, I don't really know.
That also depends on the person circling you. If they're what Google calls aggressively circling, if they're trying to circle a bunch of people at the same time to try to get them to circle back so they can get their count up. In that case, they would delay notifications. I think Chi talked about that.
All right. Well,
Aggressive circling. Craig, I think you have some experience with that in Facebook.
aggressive messaging.
You actually got banned. You got your account deleted because you kept trying to get people to come over to Google+.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Aggressive fanboy.
Okay, so any more local comments? Okie doke. So
Yeah, we all agree they've got local nailed.
No, but I like Moritz wallpaper. Oh my. It's very provocative.
No,
He's a provocateur. Look at that.
no.
Alan, you want to intro? Are we doing the Google YouTube thing?
Yeah. So one of the other changes announced this week, and this is actually a pretty big one, is that YouTube's commenting system is getting a major overhaul. And this is in progress, so those of you who are following us on YouTube tonight and making comments there aren't seeing it yet. But bit by bit, we are seeing that the commenting system that we first saw in Blogger is now moving into YouTube as well. So comments that you make on YouTube channels, and somebody can correct me if I get it slightly wrong, comments that you make on YouTube channels are now fed by and powered by Google+. So you have the option of posting them to your stream at the same time. You've got comments off of these comments. You've got formatting. You've got all of the other features that we're used to in Google+ comments. Has anyone looked at these, seen them yet, and tried them out?
I have a question.
I know you've got a question, Craig. Trust me, I know you've got, and I almost know what your question is. But I want to know if you tried it first.
Well, but you said channels. This doesn't apply to regular YouTube comments then.
I don't actually know. I heard somebody say that it only is applying to channels right now. And they're rolling, and once that's fully implemented, it will be rolled out to comments on videos. But I've also heard people talking about how it's comments on videos. I haven't seen them yet at all, so I don't know.
I imagine, don't you think it's a test to see if everyone hates it? Because I know they're reluctant to screw with the YouTube crowd. Because
no, I don't think it's a test to see if everyone hates it, because I think they'll be doing it whether everyone hates it or not.
But don't you think that they're doing it on the less frequently occurring channel comments as opposed to the very frequently occurring YouTube video comments because they want to work out the kinks?
That I think is more likely.
Theoretically, assuming there might be a kink or two.
Does anybody know, are they going to now allow URLs in the comments?
Yes.
So to Alan's original question.
But, sorry, let me, to address that though, Craig, my understanding is yes, they'll be allowing URLs in the comments, but one of the other tools that's coming with this is that the channel owner now has increased spam protection tools. So although a URL may show up in the comments, people may not ever see that comment except for the person itself, who posted it themselves. So it gives the channel owner some additional tools to filter out junk. And it's not just, they haven't said exactly how it's doing that filtering, so filtering on URLs is purely a guess on my part. But I wouldn't be surprised if URLs that are not relevant will automatically get filtered out, if just crappy language and crappy posts get automatically filtered out, and how people who are saying good things, who are frequently saying good things on this channel, will start rising to the top of the channel. And that's kind of their goal with it. It isn't just, hey, let's integrate Google Plus and YouTube. It's, hey, let's find, they're working on a better commenting system. And at least what they're saying is they're doing this because they want to build communities around channels and videos, instead of just having, hey, latest person who comes along that spouts some BS gets to be at the top of the comment list. They're trying to get better comments floating to the top. I see Jeff nodding. What are your thoughts on that, Jeff?
No, I think it's a great idea. I think it's about time that they did something like this, because it's just going to make everyone's life a little bit easier for commenting, and then replying back and creating that dialogue instead of just a sequential list of babble.
Well, and if they took out YouTube responses earlier, which I think they're gone at this point, you can't do a YouTube response anymore. Video response, I'm sorry, in a comment. So now, at least theoretically, you'll be able to link to a video in the comment. So if you want to, in effect, refer to a video, do a video response, if you will, you could just comment and just put the URL of the YouTube video and link to it.
And I think the question is going to be, how is that going to appear in the stream? Will it, since it's a YouTube video, will it show the embedded player in the embedded player? And
that would be kind of cool. I wouldn't mind it on my channel.
Could be interesting.
Yeah, but you have to worry about all the other spam people trying to hijack your.
Well, but again, Jeff, what it starts turning into is you, as the owner of the channel or the video, will be able to post whatever you want, however you want, and everything else, YouTube's going to first of all apply their algorithms to try to clean out the junk, and second, you as the moderator will be able to clean out junk.
Yeah.
And what's left over are hopefully people who are honestly willing to talk to each other about this stuff.
Yeah, but it all depends on how many. I don't have that many comments on my YouTube video on my channels, but when I used to have a forum which had a lot of activity, it was very hard to you get a lot of people trying to go in on your hard work and kind of steal your.
Well, on YouTube, Jeff, you can have it so that you have to approve every comment.
Yeah, which is a lot of pain. It's a big pain actually. So.
What we really need is the ability to have different levels of administrators. We need to be able to deputize people that are, frequent users of your channel that you trust and say, hey, if you see spam, delete it. So hopefully they'll give us the ability to do that as well.
Like community managers for your YouTube channel?
Or other page managers never mind.
I didn't mean to get you started a little bit there.
Yeah.
We got a
Bruce,
comment.
what are your thoughts? You got a comment for us. What is it?
Yeah, we got a comment by Gerwin Sturm. He says Google Plus comments are already live on all channels, at least all channels I've seen. You can check Dan's channel discussion page.
And this is the channel discussion page. Okay. So it is just in the channel.
Which I never even use on mine. I didn't even know that. I don't even know if my channel even has it, to tell you the truth.
I was about to say that I didn't even know such a thing existed, but I will readily profess to not using YouTube all that much except to watch videos. Okay, any other thoughts?
We all agree. It's fantastic.
I'm frantically looking for my channel and my, any comments on my channel, and they're all on my videos. They're not on my channel.
Well, and in talking about this rollout, they have said that they intend to bring it to the videos themselves. So we're going to see them showing up there eventually. The speed of the rollout is mostly going to depend on just how well it works. But they're coming. This is coming. This will be here. And all I have to say is thank goodness, because the old YouTube commenting system is crap.
What would the reaction be to folks if they have to actually have a verified identity, semi-verified?
Well, here's the thing: you don't necessarily have. Well, for starters, define verified identity. That's a whole other ball of wax. But a lot of people are saying, how can I keep my YouTube account name? Do I have to switch to my given name? And the answer is no. One of the when you link up Google Plus to your YouTube account, one of the things that you can do, and one of the things it prompts you to do, is if you want to link it to a Google Plus page. And if you link it to a Google Plus page, you get to keep the name. The catch, however, is the page needs to be linked to a Google Plus account, a profile.
It's a mess.
Person.
It is a total mess.
It's not a total mess, Craig. It's a partial mess, but it's not a total mess.
It's a mess enough that I sure as heck didn't do it.
Look what you did, Craig. You're scaring people away.
There you go. I'm good at that.
That's not necessarily a convincing argument there. Go ahead, Jody.
Well, I was going to say, Craig has a point. There is a lot of confusion. Google has so many properties, and what they're doing is I think they're trying to streamline and align. Now I scared someone away. They're trying to streamline and align. So
just Morris.
He'll be back.
He's the next topic.
But even to the point where I was watching one of the people that I do a podcast with. I don't know if you know Chris Voss, but Chris was talking about the fact that he has a YouTube channel, and suddenly they created something for him based on his YouTube channel that he didn't even know he had. So, it'd be nice to be able to be notified about these things. I think, Alan, you were the one who mentioned last week about the little icons at the top of the screen and how difficult it is to figure it out if you don't know what you're looking for. So,
I think this is a case where they've been trying over the past several months now. Craig and I have been fighting about this issue. They've been trying to do the linking and do the integration, and I think they have on some level been trying to communicate this to people. I don't know on what level they're successful. I think in this case, this is actually a case where a lot of people, they're saying, hey, we can now create link your YouTube profile to a Google Plus page. Here's what it means, and everyone just clicks, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. I think
you end up with a bunch of extra pages. I mean, it is a cluster, I all of a sudden had like 3 extra pages, and I didn't know what was connected to what. And I don't even use the pages, right? Of course, I have no subscribers on those pages. It was just a total mess.
Well, you see, there were a lot of people that would say that you're now totally underutilizing Google Plus.
All they need to do, it's not rocket science here. All they need to do is, if you've got a YouTube channel, an established channel, if you're the one that has the channel, they should allow you to connect that to whatever Google Plus pages you have, and to your Google Plus profile page if you choose to. You should choose what pages it's connected to. And for that matter, I should be able to connect it to one of Jody's pages if she wants it connected, so that maybe she's going to start a Hangout from her page and she wants to broadcast it to my channel. Why not? Why not allow that?
You know, Craig,
It's a channel, for gosh sakes.
Craig, that's an absolutely brilliant idea. And that's exactly what they did.
It is not.
It's exactly what they did.
No, you can only connect it to one page. I can't connect it to a page and my profile page. I got to choose which one.
Why?
I don't want to make that choice.
You couldn't do that before. What makes you think you should be able to do it now? One channel, one page. It's really simple, Craig.
That is ridiculous.
One channel, one page. You're the one confusing it.
Ridiculous. So that forces me to have a separate YouTube account for each page, a separate YouTube account for my profile page, and meanwhile, I've split all my my subscribers are on one channel over here. The rest of them have no subscribers.
Craig,
clustered,
oh my God, Craig, you're the one who just said. You're the one who just said that it should be really simple. So they made it really simple. One channel, one page. It's easy.
It doesn't work.
What do you mean it doesn't work?
It doesn't work.
Google Plus is so easy.
No, Craig, I don't understand what you mean by what do you mean by it doesn't work? Currently, the current model is if people want to follow your channel, they follow your channel. It would seem to make sense, and I'll admit, I've got like nobody following my channel, so I don't care all that much. But it seems to make sense to me that if currently they're thinking I'm following a channel, then next they could say, I'll just follow the page. They're the same thing. A channel is a page. A page is a channel.
Yeah, but I cut off my nose despite my face if I take and I set up a whole new YouTube channel with no subscribers, and I create a page, and I've got it connected to that page, and I go over to that page, and I start a Hangout on air, and there's nobody to watch it. Not that there's anybody to watch it anyway, but I mean, it's just ridiculous.
You could just take over Alan's channel. That would save you the trouble of having to set up a whole new channel.
This is not going to work. But that's the problem. Is these guys don't test things. They don't try things in the world, and they certainly don't talk to any content creators. Okay, because if they did, the content creator would say, "What are you, crazy? I'm going to set up a new YouTube channel with no subscribers and connect it to my page and have nobody to watch my content?" That makes a lot of sense.
Craig, here's the thing I don't get. What it sounds like you're trying to do, and we've been down this road for 3 or 4 months now, is you're saying
you all will get it and understand that I'm right.
But you're not.
Yes, I am.
What you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're saying that the channel model never worked in the first place.
No, well, it needs some help. First of all, here's the deal. On my YouTube channel, my YouTube account, I shouldn't even call it a channel, whatever you want to call this YouTube entity that is mine. Call it my network.
Call it a channel. They call it a network.
That's better, okay?
I like
network. I have my YouTube network. Then I should be able to have 4 or 5 channels there if I want.
See, here's the thing. The problem is,
then I should be able to connect those channels to whatever pages I freaking want to.
The problem is,
what? If I want to let Jody broadcast to one of those channels, I should be able to let Jody broadcast to it as well. And guess what? Even Dan, I should be able to let him broadcast to it if he wants to.
But you know what the problem is? I think it's fundamental, okay? Alan, admittedly, you haven't used YouTube all that much, and you're interpreting. Craig, you're a heavy YouTube user. And you have multiple entities on YouTube. So I think that's...
Actually, I only use one. I only use my main channel because that's where all my subscribers are. That's the point. I don't want to put stuff on another channel because there's no subscribers on the other channel.
Here's an example, Alan. What he's getting at is he has, what is it, Area Cable is your YouTube channel?
It's the URL, but now that I had to change the name to my own because they wouldn't let me keep Area Cable.
See, he'll do a Civil War reenactment in... wherever, Gettysburg, and then he'll do a knife review, and then he'll do a video about a parade in Sarasota, Florida, and these are all either his personal love of all things related to killing people, or he's a Civil War buff, and he's a local event buff for his websites. So he can't split that up really, and he's tempted. He's not going to set up a Sarasota special, well, I guess there is one, but if he shares it there, he's going to get 12 views. If he puts it on his Craig Ship YouTube channel, he's got a knife review that has over 100,000 views right now, and he just did it a few months ago. So that's the problem. You can't now. Craig, what was that company that we looked at? Was it like Ford or something that had it really nicely separated out where you could do that?
Somebody had a pretty wild channel on YouTube.
It was like a VIP special setup. I don't know how they did it, but there were all sorts of things. In other words, ABC YouTube channel, and I don't know, but they should be able to separate for fans who just want, or like me, a geek who only watches ABC for the occasional Good Morning in America if they have a good guest on, or if you're a This Week fan, if you're a news junkie like me, or there are other people who like different shows, some of the stupid ass reality shows that they have, and those are wildly different audiences. And right now, if you're not a VIP, you can't do that. You can't set up sub channels. You can't have like an area cable channel with a Frederick, Maryland section and a Sarasota, Florida section, and just a knife reviews, because people would like to subscribe to just Craig's knife reviews.
And I don't necessarily want to set up a whole different YouTube account to do that. I want to be able to manage it all in my main account, because some of my subscribers might want to check off and subscribe to 4 of the channels, right? And now I can create playlists, of course. That's one way to separate things out. But as far as I know, somebody can't subscribe to just a playlist, for example. So it's a mess, and it is fixable, but I just don't get the impression that the people that are making these decisions are even talking to the content creators.
So there.
Well, we have this comment from Gilbert who says, I love how Craig expresses his ideas. He always has a solution that is so easy.
My favorite comment was, I'm going to show this. This is really cool. On the live, what the hell? Okay, on the live thing here, it shows you on the, what is it called? The live
we got another
room.
comment. Jody has a comment up.
Okay, but I was going to show him the comments here, and then I'll go to Jody next. But it shows you all the comments, and my favorite was, it would be nice. I'm hoping Craig will take at least 30 to 45 seconds to tell us what's happening next week on Hangout 10. Okay, Jody, what's up?
You just got to watch hangout10.com, because it's pretty much all that.
I thought this was a huge compliment. Rich Had says, Craig thinks a lot like Steve Jobs thought. I think Craig knows how to make great content. He just may need to market it a little better. But I think that's huge.
Let me before Craig goes, let me defend him.
It doesn't have to be easy to do it, Bruce.
Nobody markets like Craig. He tweets,
easy,
he Facebooks, he
that doesn't mean they can't do it.
I mean, this thing, I put it up on Google Plus, and then it goes to Facebook and Twitter, and I do an audio MP3. But I could do a lot more marketing. But I mean, it's for fun. It's a fun exercise, and we have a great core group of probably 250 who watch either live or the video after, and then another 150 or so, 200 or whatever who listen, and it fluctuates depending on if we have a big guest, then it'll go up, But that's basically all I do. Craig is like all over the place. He's got he's got over 30 websites that are, or maybe 50. I don't know. He's got like 1,000 domains. He's got a bunch of Twitter accounts. He spends all day doing that. So I think he markets it fine. I think he just wants the tools to be built in to be able to market it more effectively.
Well, but I think part of the problem is that the channel is a bad misnomer. What I think you really want it to be, Craig, on some level, is you don't want it to be a channel. You want it to be a show. So
or network.
A
network of channels.
Well, but that's the same as a channel, essentially. So
Okay.
You either want it to be I'll use network because I actually like that terminology better. You either want it to be a network that has a bunch of shows underneath it, and you could just watch individual shows, or you want it to be a show, and you'll be able to say, here's a show, but here are our partner shows on our partner networks. I think the and I think the term channel is kind of confusing on that front because of that reason. So what you ideally want, let me finish, Craig. What you ideally want to be able to do is to say, here is my knife show, and here is my knife show, and this is this week's episode, and here's another episode, and here's another episode. Visit our partner shows on the reenactment channel, or sorry, the reenactment show. So you want to be able not just to have each individual so I as a subscriber could subscribe to the knife channel even if I'm not interested in the enactment channel.
I don't think you need to stay away from the term channel, because the channel could have a bunch of knife shows on it. You see what I'm saying?
Right, but those knife shows.
The Discovery Channel, right? We have and it just has things that are that topic.
The difference, though, is that you as a content creator, you don't own the channel. So to use that example, the knife channel would collect your knife show and Dan's knife show and create playlists of those shows.
Yeah, but the whole
That's what a channel would do.
The whole key here is if you are creating a YouTube account, all right, and then you're creating videos and you're putting those videos up there and you want people to watch those videos, if that's our end game, that's what we want, right? If somebody is putting up videos that are all on the exact same subject, then this is probably not an issue. But if somebody is putting up videos that are on varying subjects, they want to have a way to organize those. And then also, if they have multiple contributors, this is another aspect of it.
Craig, stop right there. And we'll get to that second part in a second, because I think it's important and I want to deal with it separately. Your first part is, if you're doing a show, I'm going to call it a variety show. It's a show with a lot of other stuff. The fact is, most people on YouTube, as I understand it, that are doing shows, if they do shows on two different things, currently they're using two different accounts.
I'm sure a lot of them do, yeah.
A lot of them, and they cross-advertise all over the place. And they're doing it specifically so that people can subscribe to one and not care about the other.
Yep.
That's the specific reason they're doing it. So that's why you've got this mapping of a YouTube account to a Google Plus page that has the same topic. What you're doing is actually what most content creators don't do, is you have the big collection of stuff, and you want to be able to break that out. The way most people break that out is they create a bunch of individual YouTube accounts,
which is not
cross-pollinate.
Which is not the right way to do something. I mean, if you have a database, you don't generally create a whole bunch of separate databases. I mean, that's just not the way you do it.
No, but you create a whole bunch of separate tables.
Yeah. So, but like I say, in actual use, there are much better ways to organize this, and then we haven't even gotten to the contributors yet. And
okay, now let's go to contributors, because that's an excellent point. One of the great things about the integration with Google Plus is now you can have multiple contributors, because you can give more than one page manager, and everyone who manages the page can now be a contributor to that show.
That's right, but the problem is you can't connect your YouTube channel to more than one page.
That's correct. You don't, and
that's
in general, what most people don't want to do that. I understand you do, and I understand why you want to, but the fact is your need, most people handle that by breaking out into multiple YouTube accounts.
Yeah, but I don't think having a bunch of YouTube accounts is the best solution to the problem. That's what they're doing because they can't do it any other way.
Well, that's what they're doing because
the best solution.
That's what they're doing because that was the historical baggage that they inherited. Going forward, they're essentially getting rid of YouTube accounts.
Yeah. Hey, Jody, jump in here because you've got a really good comment up here.
Okay. Basically, Steve Perry said it's not a network, not a channel. You want an online destination. I think that's a good comment, Steve.
Absolutely, that we can organize appropriately. A destination that we can organize, that the content creator or the manager of that destination or whatever you want to call that person can then organize appropriately and have people contribute content to and so forth.
Not everybody's a one-trick pony. That's the problem,
Well, but here's the thing. I don't necessarily think that YouTube itself can model every single method that you want to do it. So YouTube needs to be the atomic unit. And if you're going to combine that in various ways, you can combine that in various ways.
So here's my YouTube channel. What would be the problem? I mean, you have these little tabs up here. You got this little drop down. This is your home, so it automatically goes there. If you click that drop down, you could have your other channels listed right under there. Why couldn't they do something like that?
Absolutely.
And you could filter by your channels.
And my understanding is, and I've been told that you can now list other channels from your channel.
No, you can't even create additional channels. When I first set up my YouTube account, and you created a channel, right, and you picked the banner and all that stuff, I thought, man, this is cool. I'm going to make my first channel, and then after I finish this, I'm going to make another channel, and so on. And then I went in, I dug around, and you can't make another channel. You've got one channel. That's it. You're done.
But Craig, here's the great thing: you can make more than one channel now.
But you have to have a separate YouTube account to do it.
That's fine, but who cares?
I do.
Well, no.
Because all my subscribers are on my other account.
But all your subscribers would be on the other account.
All over
No, Craig, you've got it wrong. All your subscribers are on a channel. If you create a second channel, they'd still be on the old channel.
If I create a new channel, I have to create a new account to do it, and that's going to have 0 subscribers on it. 0.
But Craig, fine, Craig, let's look at it this way. If you could create another channel from your same YouTube account,
that's right,
you'd still have 0 subscribers on your channel. No, yes, you would because they're not following an account. They're following a channel.
No.
Yes.
Well, but it doesn't make any difference, because when I upload something, depending on how you organize your channel or your account or whatever, you can display whatever you want on your home page. And so I can push whatever content I want on there. And the subscribers could then decide, they could set it up so that they could subscribe to all your channels or subscribe to certain ones. Give them the choice.
Why couldn't it be like this? Here's the Twit network, okay? And so, just like your YouTube channel or your destination, this is Craig Shipp's universe, and you got all these channels that you can look at. Or you can click here and view all the shows, and they got a ton more, but that would be cool, and you could do that in a drop-down on the YouTube channel.
And you
can subscribe to whatever ones you want.
You can do that today from your own webpage. Jody, what comment we got? Jody? You're muted, Jody.
Maybe she's not there.
Oh, I'm here. I'm sorry. My microphone was turned off. Sorry.
Can you read that one?
Sure. Michael Daniel says, when I turn on the TV that has channels, isn't that what we're used to?
Yes, but well, two things. One, why do we need to be limited to an old model that's, quite honestly broken? And second, what Craig is kind of pushing for is the fact that you really want to, when you turn on a channel, you don't turn on the channel and leave it there 24/7. You change channels. And you change channels because you're interested in a show, not necessarily in a channel. If I've got a channel that's showing garbage, I'm not going to hang around until the next show shows up that I'm interested in. I'll change the channel.
Well, speaking of shows and channels, which is a wonderful segue, I've been asked by the guys over at Tech Webcast, Brad Chasnor, Andrew Cunningham, Jacob Jones, Steve Klingon, to do a shout-out. Hey, guys, we know you're watching. Thank you. And I'm going to be jumping over there for a little bit.
What's that URL, Jody?
It's techwebcast.info. But you can follow it there, and also on... I can't. It's the live stream that Steve does. Gosh,
is there a link from techwebcast.info to it?
There is, yes, actually. So if you go to techwebcast.info for info.
You just lost all your viewers, Dan. I hate to tell you.
Never.
Shifted right on over there.
It's a different topic, but it's just another channel.
People can multitask.
I know. Well, I've got 2 computers running.
Listen to one in your left ear and one in the right ear.
Bruce, give us that comment and then the 2 comments that are right underneath it as well.
Sure, I sure will. Yeah, Troy Dotson says, create a Google Plus page for each show and allow the page managers to create shared content. Craig should try the new Google Plus pages linked to YouTube with the page managers. And then Kevin Bryan says, going forward, YouTube works very well with Google Plus. If you have a historic YouTube channel, though, you're probably out of luck.
Let me just interrupt there. I don't think you're totally out of luck. I do think it's a little trickier. Craig would say a lot trickier.
Mm-hmm.
Craig would actually say that it's a Charlie Foxtrot, but there are people that are out there that are trying to help you figure it out and fix it.
Yeah, and then Greg Lewis says, he says,
the last one?
Yeah, a website is still the epicenter of an online destination, which reminds me about an earlier comment that I didn't get up, where somebody was talking about why doesn't Craig just embed his particular videos on those channels, like if he on those websites, if he has a knife website or.
Well, I do embed them a lot of different places, but it doesn't mean that you can't do both. It doesn't mean that you can't have a well-organized YouTube destination that people like. Some people are comfortable staying in YouTube and want to stay there and look at different videos and all that. They might not be comfortable doing it on your website. Others might want to be on your website and never leave your website. I want to cater to all of the above.
And YouTube pushes notifications. I mean, you can opt to sign in for an email alert every time someone uploads a video if you're a big fan, or if you're just hovering on YouTube watching other stuff. If you've subscribed to a channel, then you'll get little notifications here and there that Craig Shipp has uploaded a new video or what have you. So very few people would opt into similar things for a website, but they'll do it. It's just built into YouTube. If you subscribe to a channel, you're going to get little hints here and there that some new content's come up, and you can't beat YouTube's footprint.
But we all agree YouTube's got it licked. They're doing everything right. So let's move on.
We can agree on that.
Absolutely.
So, Alan, is Moritz back?
Wait, Jody didn't leave.
No, I'm still here. I got to jump in a minute.
Well, we better have Jody read the next story then while she's still here. Don't you think, Dan?
Well, we're going to skip one, right, Alan?
No, I think Alan should do it. This is Alan's show. Go ahead, Alan.
This is Alan's show? Wait a minute.
No, I
know I'm always right, but it is Dan's show.
Nothing personal, Alan, but it's about ratings. I think we should have Jody read the next question.
Well,
I think we should skip it in case Moritz comes back, right?
Well, whatever the next one is.
The next topic is about Hangout Toolbox version 2. And Moritz, who is the primary author on it, has been jumping in and out of this Hangout all night, and he seems to have jumped out at the moment.
On to the next one.
Yeah, why don't we wait, and then we'll do it at the end if necessary, but we'll hold off.
Okay, fine.
And just in case he comes back. And my mouse, what causes this, Alan? I have my mouse cursor is spaced to the right. Like I'm typing here, and the K is there, but my cursor's like a space or two to the right. Is that normal, or you think maybe it's related to the fact that I'm doing this show and my video card's messed up?
Well, I think it's related to the fact that you have a ghetto computer, Dan.
See, this is
you need it back.
An urban myth.
Get a Chromebook.
Mac.
Okay, and of course that would not allow me to do anything that I do. See,
we
I
can't
can't even
get the Apple discussion going again, Jody. I don't think we can take it.
All right, so there's a new Hangout app for Android, right?
I'm with you, Jody. I mean, I would say Macs are fine. They're utterly decent. My Chromebox still performs better than my Mac does.
You look so much better on
is 8 years old.
Zoom.us on your Chrome box, Alan.
What was that, Dan?
You can't use Chrome.us.
And why would I want to?
I don't know. So we could do that.
Do
test
we
with
have
Bruce.
a story for Jody to introduce?
Yeah, a new Hangout app for Android. Jody, do tell.
Oh, I thought it was about the Google Hangouts glitch. No?
Is it?
No, that's the one after this one, but we could skip there, sure.
Well, hold on. I've got the new. You know what? The show notes that I have don't have anything about the new Hangout app for Android. There's no URL for it.
That would be new A8 Hangout app for Android 12, if you're reading the latest copy of the show notes that Dan has been typing over.
I see. But since I'm not really an Android person, Alan, why don't you deal with this one?
Well, if we're about
Android
to lose
is
her,
a bag of freaking hurt.
What?
Oh Lord, we really want to go there, Craig?
So
I don't know nothing about no androids.
Jody's too classy for Android.
So go ahead and talk about the Google Talk. What topic do you want to talk about, Jody?
Fine. There is a new Android app. We're going to be covering it more on Monday nights, our Android week. And when is the Monday night show, Dan?
It's at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Pacific for our U.S. viewers.
What is the URL for that show?
You had to go there.
You're not saying you don't have
what
one.
What is the page for that show?
HTTP. It's
/
all one word, small letters. It's
www.
Wait, is it at or the @ sign? Is it capital C for Craig?
Is it a .biz?
Oh my God. Okay, so anyway, we'll talk about that because I haven't really used it.
Well, but I haven't gotten the update for it yet myself, but what they've said is there's a new Hangout app for Android. It resolves some of the most requested features, most notably online presence. So you'll now be able to know when there are other people online. Fixes up a few assorted bugs and presents some things in a cleaner, better fashion that hopefully will help you find the contacts that you're most interested in talking with. So all of that's in the new Hangout app.
I have a related question. Whenever I get a Hangout thing that says, you've been invited to a call, upgrade to the new Hangouts, okay? But
this is on the desktop?
Yeah. I'm petrified that I will have to, whenever I get a phone call, that I will get the big Hangout pop-up instead of the very convenient Gmail thing that doesn't suck.
You will.
So I'm not going to upgrade.
Well, but this next story may convince you that you should upgrade.
I'm not talking on the Android app. I'm talking on my desktop.
I know, on your desktop. And here's why. There was a little bug this week associated with the old Talk app. Bruce, I see you're laughing. You've heard about this bug, right?
I was laughing because you called it a little bug.
Yeah.
It's like a sand flea or a gnat, little but pesky.
Oh yeah, this was a bad one. Basically, people who were still using the Talk app were sending messages to the wrong person. So you can think of it as wires crossed, you can think of it as whatever. There was a pretty serious glitch that people were sending messages to the wrong place. As far as I know, it was still to people that they knew, so it wasn't going to total strangers. But there were this was a pretty serious problem that they were making connections erroneously. And this was, I believe, due to using the old app. So, here's a motivation to get everybody onto the new app. Bruce, you have any other thoughts on this story? You looked through it yet?
Well, I mean, they fixed it, right? I mean, it's not still doing that, right? So if you want to stay on the old chat, you can, right?
I don't know. I haven't actually heard any resolution one way or the other on this, to be honest. But, I don't know, get off the old chat already. Okay, this was a huge, smashing hit here. Go ahead, Bruce.
I'm going to go ahead and give it a try. I'm going to try the new Hangouts again and see how it works.
I think Dan's got a legitimate point that the voice integration was well intentioned, and I think you can see where they were going with it. But the huge window, the huge overhead to do it's a significant overhead, and I think it was kind of unnecessary, at least from a user point of view.
Well, let me ask you a related question with the Google Talk plugin, or the Google Talk, the chat and the Hangout thing. How long do you think it'll be before they're able to implement SMS messaging within this? How long do you think it's going to take?
What time is it?
Because somebody introduced me to a new Chrome plugin and an Android app. It's called Mighty Text that I have found to be extremely helpful to responding to text messages, from within Gmail, and getting these pop-ups, being able to respond to text messages right from my Chrome desktop and get these little notifications. And if Hangouts would get that implemented, it would be a really great addition.
Well, let's put it this way. One of the things that we'll also again be covering on Google Plus Week, I suspect. On our Android Week on Monday, I suspect, is that they released an update for Google Voice for Android, which was kind of shocking since they haven't released an update for Google Voice for Android. Yeah, we'll get to that one in a minute, Bruce. They haven't released an update for Google Plus for Voice for Android in ages. And they introduced one. So that's kind of a hint to me that it's coming, and maybe coming slower than we expected. But the SMS integration is coming. Go ahead with this comment. It's a good one.
That'd be great. Michael Daniels says, can't imagine Pam sending a talc message to the wrong person. Wow.
Yeah, isn't that a little scary? And we'll have some news on Pam. Pam isn't here this evening, and we'll have some news why later in the show. Can you also get the second comment from Michael?
I don't. I've got
That's
one.
The last one you have? Okay. Michael asked, "What is this new app called?" It's called Hangouts.
That's right.
Clever name. It may say Hangouts replaces Talk, but it is the same Hangouts app that we've had for since May, when it replaced Talk. Same app, just an updated version for it. Unless you were talking about the app that Bruce was talking about, and he'll be talking about it more on Monday night's show.
It will be my app of the week for sure.
It will be Bruce's app of the week on Monday night. So I think we've kind of beaten this topic to death. Moving on. Speaking of failures, and this was a really good failure story for Google. You know, I have to admit, you know, for a week where they're celebrating their 15th birthday, they also had a tremendous number of problems this week. And I particularly liked this one. They had a Gmail failure where people who use Gmail, in fact, people who were using apps, their commercial version, were slow in getting email. And this affected me on my business account, so it was very frustrating. When they first announced the problem, they said, we believe about 0.02% of all customers are experiencing this slowdown. And after a couple of hours, they said, we believe less than 50% of the users are experiencing this slowdown.
How bad was the slowdown?
Several hours for email to come in.
Was it coming from another Gmail account, or was it coming from an external email account? Like, in
some cases, it was coming from another Gmail account. In other cases, it was coming externally. But it would be things like an email. In my case, we had an email that came into our office that was sent to 4 of us. One of us got the message. The other 3 of us didn't for several hours. All of us are on Gmail. It was coming externally. That's one message being delivered in, and it not being distributed correctly.
So again, does Google Apps allow you to have your own infrastructure set up on the Google Mail system, or you have to piggyback on the cloud, what they provide you, or their infrastructure?
In this case, since we were using an apps account, or since we were using apps, we were on their infrastructure.
Okay, so basically there's something wrong with their problem. Now,
this was very definitely a Google problem, and when they finally fixed it, they published a post-mortem on exactly what happened, and what it kind of boils down to is 2 redundant channels for getting and distributing the mail failed. And if one of them had failed, the other one would have picked it up with no problem. With 2 of them failing, it was causing some extreme slowdowns.
Was this only for Google App accounts or for regular Gmail users as well?
My understanding is that it was also affecting some Gmail accounts as well, but most of the people I knew that were having the problem were apps accounts users.
When was this? I didn't notice this. Usually I'm pretty spot on with Gmail.
Did I provide a link in our show notes? Yes, I provided a link in our show notes.
Yeah, I didn't notice any slowdowns on my end either. But you know, they close out that article and the link is Google remains well above 99.9% available, and we intend to keep it that way.
And as Alan, you know, probably from enterprise infrastructure, once a uh, thing like an email server or redundant server, as you said, right, starts slowing down, it backs up. And once it starts backing up, then it takes a while before the queue gets cleared. So I think uh, if they had any problem with their redundant servers, even if they fixed it, it's going to take a while to come up.
Sure, but the problem is it still took them several hours to even diagnose the problem.
Yeah.
I mean, they were saying for a couple of hours that this is affecting almost nobody, and then suddenly they're saying, oh, well, maybe it's actually affecting 50% of the people.
Yeah, we know.
So this really seemed like a case where they kind of got caught off guard about what the real problem was before they were able to resolve it.
Yeah, but it's amazing. Even with Google's kind of infrastructure, they still have such issues. And I think their infrastructure probably is kind of the best in the world in terms of,
You were mentioning some other failures this week, and I know we don't have it on the dock, but there were also some interesting things that happened with Google Hangouts yesterday and the day before, where, for instance, we have techandcoffee.info. We've got a link to 2 or 3 different Hangouts that we can keep going, and you would click on the link, and it would say you're the first one here, nobody else is here, and yet there was a Hangout going on with 3 or 4 Tech and Coffee people in there, and I could go to the Hangout app on my phone or go to the Hangout, within Google Talk and find them and join them there. There was some really strange things happening.
Yes, and in fact, I've seen people reporting today that they were having problems that YouTube went into emergency maintenance mode for about half an hour this afternoon. So we're seeing a lot more of these little failures. These failures are becoming more and more obvious.
Yeah.
But it's kind of interesting.
Quick to go on a tangent and come back as soon as possible. I saw a post somewhere that Google Plus touched 1 billion users. Is that a topic, or was that some kind of a fun post?
That's not a topic, and the reason why that's not a topic is because that's not an official number anywhere. Google hasn't said that there are 1 billion users. This was somebody speculating it.
Okay.
And when asked to comment on it, the only thing Vic Gundotra said, Vic Gundotra being the senior vice president in charge of Google Plus, said was, "We don't announce all of our major milestones."
But they used to, but...
Look at this comment. To all new users, Bruce and Alan are not just major stars on this show, but they also do a second show on Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Time called Our Android Week. Dan is also the host of that show, as Dan lifts his eyebrows for us.
I used to be a star, but now, sadly, I am merely the host. I intro the comedy segments, and then...
He's also the only star in Bentonville, Virginia.
But don't forget, everybody, we will learn about Dan and the Black Bear.
Absolutely.
Later in this show.
Yes, absolutely. Exclusive video that will premiere here.
Nice tease.
Coming up later tonight on...
And yet another thing you won't see on hangout10.com first. You'll see it second.
Yes.
So anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt you stars.
That's okay, Dan. We'll forgive you.
Oh my God, I feel like who's the guy on American Idol, the host? He just intros stuff, and then the talented people take over. I don't know. Ryan Seacrest. That's what I am for this show.
But related to Gmail, and here's where my next segue came in. Google actually has some problems in court when it comes to Gmail. So we've been following this now for several months. There's a class action lawsuit against Google in a California court saying that they're violating federal and California state wiretap laws by this feature in Gmail where they will essentially read your email and present relevant ads. And the plaintiffs are saying, did I get that right? Are saying that this violates wiretap law because they're under law. They're not allowed to read your email for any purpose except for normal functioning of an email server. Dan, I know you might have some views on this.
Yeah. Okay. So I can understand in this post NSA Edward Snowden era where people are concerned about their stuff being stored. So here's the question. What we're talking about here is if I go online and I look if I send Alan, if I'm on Dan at yahoo.com and I send Alan an email message to Alan at gmail.com. I have not agreed to any of Gmail's terms of service. I don't know anything about Gmail. I'm stuck in Yahoo land with really crappy email. But Alan has really nice email because he's at Gmail. So he gets it. Gmail reads my email to Alan saying, and we have to define what reads means. I'm telling him, like, I'm thinking about, Alan, we should have a hangout in real life, somewhere in between Virginia and New York, and we'll invite Bruce, but don't tell Craig about it. That kind of thing. Just kidding. And I have a card for a Hilton hotel. And so when Alan gets the email, he will see ads next to it. Stay at a Hilton. Call 1-800-HILTON or whatever it is. So they're reading my email, even though I have not agreed to let Google do that. And they're to provide relevant ads to support the free service that is Gmail. So that's in a nutshell what we're talking about. And they were suing, and I think that they had asked for it to be dismissed. And I'm not sure what their argument is, Alan, but is this stuff being stored? Is it all happening locally? I doubt it. Or is it being stored somewhere, or is it being processed and not kept? But ads are being delivered. They say that no person is actually reading your email. And this is also the basis of the Microsoft Scroogled campaign.
I knew we were going to get there any moment now.
Which I have some views on. But I don't have a problem with them doing this. That's what Google does. Now, you can make an argument. If you are using Google.com and you're typing a search engine in the search engine, whatever, aardvark, whatever, and then I'm using Gmail and I see ads, for a pet aardvark, obviously a bad example. I've agreed to all those terms of service. But if Marissa Meyer or one of her customers of their awful email service emails me, they have not agreed to be perused by Gmail. But on the other hand, if I call Alan, he could be recording me or what have you. And it's sort of like if I'm sending it, it's the same. What's the difference between a spam filter by Gmail? If I send Alan and say, hey, you should click, what's the difference between a spam filter and this?
Focus, Dan. Focus.
Seriously, no. They're doing the exact same. Exactly. Microsoft does this for a spam filter. If I send a spam from my Gmail, it goes to Microsoft. They read the email to determine if the attachment has spam or if the text is a phishing expedition with a PH. Except their goal is to determine if it's spam, whereas Google's is to do the exact same freaking thing but determine what ads to present. I don't see any difference in what they're doing. Microsoft is a hypocritical, awful company on this issue.
Without actually being a plaintiff, because I agree with you on this front, and this is usually my argument, what the plaintiffs are arguing is that the law specifically allows for looking at email for normal operations of an email service. And I assume they would argue that spam detection is a normal operation of an email service, and providing advertising is not a normal operation of an email service. I think that's bogus, but that's probably what their argument is. And the law specifically says, if you're an email service provider, you can look at the message to do routine things. You have to look at the message to know who it's being sent to, for example. That's some basic functionality here. So the question then turns into, is spam prevention basic functionality? Most people these days would say yes. Is providing additional advertising normal email functionality? And there you get into a good question.
Okay, here's a question, Alan. Let's draw an analogy. Remember when Facebook changed everyone's profile when they created it so that, let's say your username on Facebook is Alan Furstenberg, maybe Alan, like facebook.com/alan.furstenberg, whatever it is. They created an email address for every user, whatever their URL name was, Alan Furstenberg at facebook.com. So and then let's say you put that on a business card, and what basically, it's not really email. I mean, it goes into your Facebook messaging system. Now let's say someone who's never agreed to use Facebook, get your business card, and from their Gmail or Yahoo account or Hotmail or whatever, they send you an email. I wonder what Facebook does with that email, because I know that sometimes it goes into your inbox, sometimes it goes into your other box, sometimes it goes into your spam box. Maybe I wonder if they would deliver ads. I would have no problem with that, because when you send an email to another server, I guess it's because this is not something that's specifically been litigated on. The courts haven't weighed in on it. So it's like, it's these privacy freaks who think that, we're living in 1950. I don't get this. I don't have any problem with Gmail or Facebook or Microsoft, whoever, scanning my email that I send somebody to see if it's a phishing, or if it's a phishing attempt, or if it's spam, or to deliver relevant search results, as long as no human being is sitting there reading my email. If some algorithm does it, I don't care.
Why is it relevant, Dan? Two things here. Why is it relevant if a human being is reading your email or not? Why is that relevant in any way, shape, or form?
If I send you a thing saying, hey, I think we should start this new business and it's a secret and I'm going to get a patent for this next week, I don't want some Microsoft guy reading that and stealing my ideas. Or it could be some privacy issue. I have a strange disease I want to ask you about.
Okay,
whatever.
But Dan, you're fine with Microsoft writing a program that is scanning all of your emails to detect people discussing patent applications?
Are
you okay with that?
Advance that topic. I mean, that analogy. I'm not sure I get that.
Well, that's the exact. What you basically said is you don't want somebody reading your email to read over you discussing with Bruce your patent.
I wouldn't want a human being to read the email and determine that they should show me the Hilton ads. If an algorithm does it and it's not really stored, or I don't know if it's stored in cookies locally, I don't know how that works.
But here's the thing. You basically said you're fine with an algorithm doing something. You're not fine with a human doing something. What I'm saying is, what if I had an algorithm doing something like scanning your email to detect when you talk about patent applications and patent designs, and doing something with it on its own? Is it okay that an algorithm does it as long as no human is involved?
Would it be okay for the United States Post Office to have a way, if they could do it, with or without humans, to go through your snail mail in order to find out what you're interested in, so that they could then give that information to third parties who would then flood your mailbox, your physical mailbox, with all kinds of four-color process printed junk mail? That
would involve human beings.
Not necessarily.
Look, let's say I have an issue where this show goes on so long, and I pee myself, and so I'm going to ask Alan for advice on what should I go with Depends or what kind of adult diapers? That's not
catheters.
Now, not to mock anyone who has that. I mean, I'm not trying to do that, but that might be something that or hemorrhoids or whatever condition that might be potentially embarrassing to the person who has it, something you wouldn't want to get out. I wouldn't if it put a cookie there and produced ads. It wouldn't bug me as much as if a human being who I don't know what kind of clearance they had read it personally and clicked a button to give Dan Depends ads.
Why? What is the difference between a human doing it and an algorithm doing it?
Because unless it's hacked, if that's where you're going, it's a big difference.
That's not where I'm going. That's what I'm asking is, what's the fundamental difference between a human doing it and an algorithm doing it?
The potential.
Because you seem to, and here's why. You seem to be fixated on the fact that it's automated. And I don't think that's necessarily the important issue. What's the question, Bruce?
The comment is, disregarding spam and ads, what about Google Now cards created based on emails you receive?
I think that's an amazing positive use for this. And I don't mind the ads. I realize that I don't have to pay for Gmail and I get ads. And I certainly wouldn't want an ad for Depends or for kids' diapers or baby food, because I don't have a kid and I don't wear diapers, because that would be boring and irrelevant to me. Like when you watch daytime television, the ads along with the content are stupid, written by stupid people for a stupid audience, I guess. And so it's not at all relevant to me. When I watch a show that I'm into, like if I was watching like a Twitch show, or if we had ads, probably we'd have advertisers who were buying relevant ads, and it's good content. It's ads like this is something Rupert, because I'm a newspaper publisher, right? So Rupert Murdoch said this. He said, and it's so true. He said, ads, especially local ads, are content just like the newspapers. If you're looking at a newspaper, a magazine, or a local website, and you have interesting ads that are about the local restaurant that you could go to, I don't want to see an ad for a restaurant in San Francisco or Dallas, Texas, because I don't live near there. I want to see if there was an interesting ad, a special at a local place that I drive by every day, that will be a relevant ad to me. All they're trying to do is make the ads more relevant, which benefits everybody. It benefits the advertiser, and it benefits the person reading them, because they might actually purchase the product or service or engage with that company in some way.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out why when I was in business, in Florida on business a couple of weeks ago, I had a Google Now card pop up for Victoria's Secret. I can assure you that
I think it knows something about you, Bruce.
I had not done any searches on that. And also I thought this comment from Gregory was interesting. He said, this discussion makes me want to go to law school.
Gregory's a great guy. He's a local guy I know. I've known him for 15 years or something. But that's the thing. You don't want the Victoria's Secret. I mean, unless it's, worth the look.
It knows, Bruce.
And maybe Bruce, they found out about your drag wall, or
no, I thought maybe I was walking through the mall in the Melbourne Mall, and I know I walked past one. Maybe it was an NFC thing that happened.
That, you know what? Maybe they're good at marketing. I know I saw a nice older lady they dress in black at Victoria's Secret, right? Real classy looking, and I was walking by, and she said, have you bought something special, or bought something for your special person today? And I was like, now I'm an a-hole if I don't, you know what I mean? But I ain't going in that freaking store.
That's another story.
I'll tell you what, though, if you want good service, if you're a man, walk into Victoria's Secret, because they know you want to get the hell out of there ASAP. And they will jump on you because they know you are you would not go in that store if you're not buying something.
Dan, skipping back to the subject, let me ask you another hypothetical.
Okay, sure.
Would you be okay? Who provides your telephone service?
I don't have a landline anymore. It's Sprint is my cell phone.
Okay, so would you be okay with an automated process by Sprint listening in on all of your telephone conversations, picking up on keywords, and if it finds good keywords that are relevant to its advertisers, automatically sending you a text message?
Worse than that would be if I called you.
Yeah.
And your phone company did it to me. That's a better analogy.
Well, both of our phone companies did it to each other. Except for the fact that my phone company would only be doing it to me. Your phone company would be doing it to you.
I think that
that's more relevant to the comparison.
That's a valid concern, and I think that there are specific wiretap laws, and they vary by state. For example, in California, if Vic and Dotra calls Sergey, if either of them record the call and the other person doesn't know, then that's a crime, because they're what's called a two-consent state. But in Virginia, I could call someone and I could record it without them knowing.
So Dan,
and that's
stop
totally
right there.
legal as long as one party to the conversation is aware of the recording.
So Dan,
this is an analogy.
This is a direct analogy. In fact, you said the magic words: wiretap law.
But at the same time, you have to recognize, you have to put it in context.
No, I don't.
Phones are a paid service, and it's voice recording. There's a difference between someone there is and isn't a difference, and I think eventually this will go to Congress.
There it's going to get solved.
But the bottom line is, technology forces change. And we recognize, in the same way that the Digital Millennium Copyright Act shifted from you can be prosecuted to they have to you act on complaint and you're fine, because they recognize that if Facebook had to screen everything, then it wouldn't they couldn't have a free service, and that's the problem. If you got rid of the advertising, Gmail would shut down the next day, because if they weren't paid, YouTube would shut down immediately. Facebook would shut down because they're all
here's the thing.
advertising monetized. And I don't think these companies are going to. They're buying the politicians off like all big companies do. And I don't see them that analogy sticking in 2014.
So you're fundamentally saying that it's okay for them to break the law as long as they're doing it for free.
What law are they breaking?
The wiretap law.
Oh, the phone company analogy? Or are we talking about Gmail?
Well, I was talking about Gmail, but sure, let's go back to the phone company analogy.
The phone company analogy, if they recorded my call without my consent.
Well, but they're not recording the call. They're just listening in, and they're picking up keywords. We can do that in real time now.
An algorithm or a person? You know, Betty's listening with a microphone, earphone, or...
It's an algorithm. It's the same algorithm that's picking up keywords when, you're telling Google voice search to do something.
Frankly, I don't know if that's specifically illegal.
No, this Wired.com
I really
article
don't. I'm not being a snot. I don't know.
It is. I mean, my understanding is that it would be because it's a third party listening in on a voice conversation.
Nobody has I think the key of this is it's the exact same technology that they use to filter spam, and nobody would support removing all spam filtration and just letting that whole ocean come back to you. The only difference is the motivation. They're using the exact same technology to stick it in the spam folder that they're using to deliver you an ad. And so if you rule that they can't do it, you better be ready for all spam to be banned, because that's the next step. That's the next step.
Bruce. What do we got, Bruce?
Yeah, Gregory Lewis says current laws are decades behind current technology. And I wanted to ask you a question about this Wired.com article. Is it true that Outlook webmail does not scan the messages of its 400 million users like Yahoo and Google does?
Well, they don't scan it for advertising, is my understanding.
Mm-hmm.
The advertising they put up is not necessarily content relevant.
And I just want to say once again that the Microsoft Scroogled campaign.
That's why I mentioned this.
You can go to that website. You can look at all the arguments that they make against Google scroogling you, and you can apply every single point by point, to Microsoft's email spam filtration system. The exact same thing, except they're doing it to filter spam. Google's doing the exact same thing. An algorithm, instead of putting it in a spam folder, they're delivering you an ad for a kayak. That's the only difference, and they're complete hypocrites, and that's why I'm so disgusted with Microsoft, a company I once revered. But at least
I would agree, and I think that's the relevant point, and I hope Google's lawyers are savvy enough to make sure that this comes out when it actually goes to trial, because what this is basically the judge ruled that it can go to trial, not dismissing it kind of out of hand as a stupid, frivolous lawsuit, which it is.
I don't think so. No, I think that there is an argument to be made when if you're a Hotmail user and you've never used a Google product, you've never agreed to their terms of service. Not that any of us ever reads that crap, but you send it to me, and then my company's scanning. I think it's an interesting. It's not a totally bogus thing. Like, I think there is. I could see some people saying, "Wait a minute." Because they're ignorant and don't realize that it's not a person reading your email.
No,
but at the
I don't
same
think that's
time,
it at all.
this stuff could be stored somewhere, and it could be vulnerable to hacking. We've gone through story after story, although they've slowed down of late, but of all these different companies had their entire databases hacked into, and these groups were releasing them online, and so that's the real fear to me. I don't have a problem with the NSA does what they do. I recognize, I don't want to get into that topic, but
you will.
My only fear is it could be abused. If they can't keep Snowden, we have an editorial cartoon that's in our paper that came out today, and it says, I don't understand. You could, you've got 12 so many billions of dollars a year to spy on all of us, but you couldn't pick up on this guy who shot up the Navy Yard. But the point of the NSA thing is, and the fear to me is that stuff is in a database somewhere, and if they can't keep Snowden from leaking all their crap, how can they keep some hacker who might be even smarter than Snowden from hacking in and finding embarrassing or compromising things that people have said that aren't illegal but just private, and releasing that. That's the fear, that this is all in some database that is potentially hackable. Alan?
Well, for starters, the Snowden issue, he didn't hack anything. He was an insider. He was the system administrator on these systems.
It was an internal website that had all these photos or these PowerPoint things. But if they can't keep that secret, and if they're so bad at screening these people, and there's a great Washington Post story, or I think it's a Post story, about that. It's a private company that was a spinoff of the government, and it was actually employee-owned for a while, but they do like over half of the screenings. And they said that there were quotas, and it was like this horrific nightmare, similar to the real estate story. But we're not going to get into
the story at all.
We're not going to get into the story at all, because I'm just going to sum up. I'm just kidding.
I think the issue here is...
Our bear story is coming up, though. Go ahead.
Our bear story is coming up.
Not imminently, but soon.
Stay tuned. I think it's a legitimate question, is what are the limits to which a company can use your email, your data, the stuff that you're producing? I think that's a very legitimate question. So I think the wiretap analogy, it's a good approach, it's a reasonable approach, and I'm glad people are asking the question. I think it's a little invalid in this particular case, but I'm glad people are asking the question because it does raise bigger issues. It's okay for me to do spam filtering on it. I think everyone's pretty much in agreement on that, except for the people who produce the spam.
No one would dispute that basically.
There are a lot of people that would. Dan, there are a lot of people that would dispute it.
Here's the argument.
Actually,
if you send an email to my customer, I am storing your data on my server. That's a given, because I'm taking your email and I'm sticking it on my hard drive, because that's the only way I can deliver it to my consumer. That's a known thing.
Dan, you don't want to go down that route.
And so if I have the right to do that, I have the right to look at it before I agree to store it.
You so don't want to go down that route.
Tell them where I'm wrong. If I send you an email to, let's say you had your own email server, your own physical email server in your basement, right next to your Star Trek figures, and I sent you an email, and it would land on your hard drive.
Dan, you want to know why you
don't you have a right to screen it for spam or a known virus before you store it on your property?
Dan, you want to know why you don't want to go that route? Because you now just said that net neutrality is a bad idea, and that Verizon should be able to charge Google billions of dollars in order to carry.
How the hell is that analogous with putting your email in a spam folder?
Because Verizon or whoever your ISP is, it's their resources that it's going over. Google is using their resources to give you something.
In other words, I could sue if net neutrality was a federal law. I think it's like a FCC determinate, whatever the hell it is. If it was straight up, you cannot discriminate one traffic. You can't. If Alan does a startup for video, they can't let me do. They can't charge him and let Netflix do it for free, or vice versa. Treat everyone the same. Are you saying that I could make an argument that by taking my email and putting it in a spam folder, you're treating me, my internet traffic differently from? That's an interesting argument. And that's not an illogical.
I don't know if your camera's on me, but I was nodding. Yes.
You're on. That is a very interesting argument, and could potentially be analogous or like a not an illogical conclusion to advancing this.
Let's get that first, Bruce.
Yeah, I just want to let Gilbert in the chat says, I feel compelled to agree with Dan on this.
I rarely get love, so I appreciate that, Gilbert. Thank you very much.
And we're seeing this playing out now with a lot of the most recent Gmail changes that introduced the promotions tab. A lot of companies that distribute their promotions by email are furious at this because they feel like their legitimate email that their clients have asked for is being shunted off into a into a dead file. And they're pissed about this. Every promotional company these days are sending out emails saying, do you want to make sure you keep getting our spam? I mean, our promotional stuff? Make sure you drag this message into this other folder to make sure you get it. They're furious at Google for offering this service. You look stunned, Dan. That or you look like you've got a toothache.
Well,
I look like I was up until 5:30 in the morning.
I don't use that service. Do you use that service? Do you have your Gmail set up to do the folders like that? I don't do it. I don't like it.
I have it on one of my accounts. I don't particularly like it either, but I'm sticking with it to keep testing it out.
You talking about the top, the things where it says like, White House just uploaded a video, goes into the updates
No, everyone turns those off.
Oh no, I like it. I absolutely like it.
No, we're talking about the thing. Let me see if I can actually share what mine looks like right now. Is this safe for me to? Yeah. Yeah. I'm talking about the thing where on Gmail you now have these tabs on top where you have primary messages and social messages and promotions.
Yeah, that's what I was talking. I love that because we're both in an active forum, which you shouldn't click on for obvious reasons. That is, I love it because like I know like if my mom sends me an email or one of my staff members, then that goes into my primary.
Here's the issue though, Dan. You love it. Just about everybody I've ever met that actually uses it for more than about a day loves it. The problem is the people that are sending the promotional mail don't love it.
Oh, yeah.
Because they feel like they're now being tossed into a folder that you can ignore.
Well, but that's
exactly.
But exactly. So here we go. So here we have, this is from my, one of my editors here, and then this is a friend about a meeting. This is a guy sending me logos from a radio station, and then here we go social. This is Google Plus updates. Gerwin made a plus mention here. And then promotions. This is like digital juice. It's perfect. It categorizes it. So if I don't really care about this stuff as much as I care about the primary during the business day, and then updates would be, please moderate a comment. I don't want that in my main inbox. I want to be able to separate that out. And then forums where there's stuff that is forum related.
But here's the thing,
I find it very, very helpful. And I can understand that the company's trying to spam me. Don't like that.
So here's what it comes down to. Here's a case where Google is reading somebody else's email, the company that's sending it to you, and doing preferential treatment of that based on their algorithms.
Which every email provider does.
Nobody else
filter
is doing
out.
This.
Please check
Nobody
out my.
else is doing this.
They're not. I don't know what is the technical difference between this and a simple spam filter.
Nothing.
But in essence, they're just, this is spam filtering 2.0. It's not spam. It's just categorizing stuff. And this is one algorithm they got right. I mean, it's remarkably accurate.
Well, that's because they've had years of practice doing spam filtering.
Because we've all signed up for notifications for various things that we do want. But also, if my mom emails me, or if you emailed me, or something like that, I want to know immediately. I want it right now, okay? But if Digital Juice spams me...
Okay, so Dan, stop right there. So you're saying it's okay for Google, for Gmail, to violate net neutrality policies?
I think that's a stretch. I mean,
Why?
That's like you're arguing that because we have the First Amendment that you should be able to yell fire in a crowded theater. I mean, there have to be logical exceptions. Like nobody disputes that spam filtering is a good thing. And if somebody said
there are certainly people that dispute spam filtering is a good thing. The spammers.
Our former guest Adam probably wouldn't.
Exactly. There are
people.
Well, there are people who, I mean, there's a reason why spam exists, and that's because they make money off this garbage. They would most certainly say that spam filtering is a bad thing.
I mean, where do you end? I mean, I'm.
Great question. Where do you end? What's the totally illogical conclusion for this policy?
In the end, the courts, when they work correctly, look at things rationally, and they say, you know what? That this makes sense because we recognize that there's no way in hell you can provide a free service without advertising or some sort of monetization like that.
Dan,
and that advertising is better for everyone involved when it's relevant and nobody's reading your fucking emails. And these people are privacy freaks and they're going to lose.
Dan, let me
in
ask
my
you
humble
something.
opinion.
you run a newspaper, and your newspaper you give away for free, right?
Yes.
That's your business model.
Correct.
Okay. Is it guaranteed by anybody that you should be allowed to have that business model?
No, I mean it's a free country. Yeah.
So-
No. I'm sorry. Of course it is. I mean, I can do whatever. I mean, I'm the very
So-
First Amendment.
So if your community passed a law that said that all newspaper vending racks are taxed at 10 cents per paper that they hold, how would that affect your business model?
It would affect all the way to the Supreme Court because in a lot of places they can't. I mean, they can't do that. In fact, they can't. You don't need to. In Virginia, you don't even need a business license to start a newspaper. They can't charge you the business. They're not allowed to do that because the First Amendment is clear.
It's not abridging your right to. Let's quote the First Amendment here.
How about a
With our
literacy
convenient
test to keep blacks from voting? I mean, that's what
Not
that
a
would
literacy
be.
test.
That's a poll tax. How about a poll tax? That's what they did.
So how is this abridging the freedom of speech or of the press?
Because it should be free. Now they've ruled that you can like charge income taxes on the business, and et cetera.
But you can still. I mean,
anybody
you can
has
still,
a right. You have a
Dan,
right
Dan,
to.
you as a newspaper publisher, you personally can still stand on a street corner and hand out papers, just that you can't have a newspaper rack distributing them. Or you can actually, but they're going to charge you 10 cents per paper that it can hold.
Not only can you do it and it's tax free, but now I'm talking in Virginia. I don't know what other states are, but in places where it's against zoning and illegal to have a candy bar vending machine, you can still put a Washington Post vending machine or a Furstenberg Gazette vending machine. How many places have you been in the city where there are 17 vending machines strapped right on public rights of way that you'd never be able to have a Coca-Cola machine there? People would do it. They'd make money, right? But you absolutely, I mean, in many cases you can stick a vending machine up there. And for folks who are just curious, this is our newspaper. This is the new issue. It's at warrencountyva.com.
And I
look at all these
understand that
beautiful local ads. Now here's an ad. Okay, this is an
Dan,
event.
are you featuring something in your newspaper about a four-legged furry creature?
In fact, I am. On page 5 of the current issue, I have a picture of a bear, and soon we'll be doing exclusive video. But the thing is, if people read this, the reason they pick it up, it's the #1 paper by far.
And Dan, that's fine.
Because it's
my
local
point,
stories
however,
and
is,
local relevant ads that are happening in this community.
And Dan, that's fine. My point is your business model relies on you handing out this paper for free. Nobody is guaranteeing you that you have to have this business model.
Nobody owes me anything.
Nobody owes you anything. Just like nobody owes Google anything. They chose a particular business model.
But that's the
Okay?
internet.
There is no
People
guarantee
don't
that
pay.
business model is
Nobody's
valid.
going to sign up for a search engine. Nobody's paying Jeeves. Come on. It's the new
Nobody-
reality. That's the reason in the Digital Millennium Copyright Act.
No, Dan, stop right there. Nobody signs up for a search engine? Come on, you're a newspaper publisher. Do you have Nexus
Nobody's going to pay.
Do you have Nexus Lexis?
No, LexisNexis.
You don't have Nexus Lexis? Do you know how much people are paying for Nexus Lexis? Do you
Is
have
it
Bloomberg?
Nexus Lexis or LexisNexis? I think it's LexisNexis.
I thought it was Nexus Lexis.
Stop. Full
you
stop.
pay for-
Stop the presses.
Do you
Listen,
pay for Bloomberg?
that's a niche product. Just like people will pay for online access to the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times.
It's a niche product now, but once upon before Google, these guys were the big players.
Right.
Did you pay for Bloomberg?
Times change. The best analogy here is the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. In my case, if I printed a newspaper that had a copyrighted photo, it's my fault, and I could be sued and be held for damages. If they put it in a movie, right? But they extended a special protection for internet sites because they recognize, first of all, let's not kid ourselves. Our Google Plus stream, your Facebook stream, is literally filled with copyrighted content. Maybe every fourth or fifth post is someone else owns copyrighted content. Now, they realize that if you're going to provide Facebook for free, Google Plus for free, Gmail for free, all these things, what about me emailing a song to Alan that has an MP3 of a copyrighted work that I don't own? If they required everyone to pre-censor in the way that we do with the newspaper, where people will send me stuff and I'll be like, I can't run this. This is not your original work. You've plagiarized this, or this is a cartoon from some internet site that we're not going to print that. I'll get sued. That doesn't apply to YouTube. And this was the big test of the Universal versus YouTube lawsuit. The courts held that in the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, the DMCA, that they have to act on complaint. And they found, because they recognized that if they had to pay, if Google had to pay somebody to watch every minute of every video that Craig Shipp uploads, in addition to having medical bills for that person, they would have to not be able to provide the service for free. So they said, you act on complaint. If someone, emails you and says, hey, this is my copy of, my song or whatever, and Craig's done it, then they take it down, and then Craig can appeal it, whatever. And that's the only way you could have a free service. And I think the same logic will apply in this case, because it's absolutely, if you don't have, I think you can make it, it's not totally analogous, but I think the bottom line is, in terms of whether the court will view this in the context of like illegally wiretapping, or view it in the context of, this is a day and time when everyone wants stuff for free on the internet. If it's a commodity thing like an email or a news story, and they recognize that advertising comes with that. That's the only way that the companies can make money to produce the content that we all like. And every judge and jury member and lawyer involved is going to be somebody who Googles stuff, and they're going to say, you know what, this is reasonable. This is once they actually look at the facts and not the smear propaganda bullshit campaign that Microsoft's putting out with Scroogled. Once they actually look at the facts, they're going to realize there's no threat here. This is exactly like spam filtering. It's just, instead of a negative thing where they're throwing it in the trash, they're delivering relevant ads. And we already deal with that all the time, because every time you do a search, if some teenage girl does a search for some band, or an old guy does a search for a vacation thing, or you do a search on anywhere for, it's understood you're going to get Chevrolet or One Direction or whatever ads in the future with cookies. It's understood, and nobody reads the terms. I just think logic will prevail in this, and this is a stupid lawsuit. It may be, I don't know if it's a publicity-seeking thing or they're trying to get money, what their motivation is, but if you actually are an intelligent human being, if you look at the facts, not the smear BS campaign from Microsoft, you will determine that this is nonsense and that there's no problem here.
And as we wrap up this case, Gilbert says, did Craig leave the Hangout, go to sleep, or is he too scared to comment?
I'm deliberately trolling him because he left,
not
and because we're friends.
Chime in. I think he's polishing his iPhone 5S. And then Michael says, Bruce doesn't think Google should be allowed to autofill when he starts typing Victoria S.E. Yeah, and this is another great comment from Gilbert. We appreciate it, Gilbert. Unfortunately, I have to leave, but it has been a pleasure to catch this much of the show live. You guys are the greatest. Thank you, Gilbert.
Thank you very much. That's very nice.
We love getting comments from our viewers, and we're glad that we can share them on air with Hangout Toolbox and the other tools that we have. You guys are great. You really do help fuel a lot of our conversation. So we always appreciate the comments that you guys raise. You're as much a part of the show as those of us on the panel each evening.
Well said, Alan. Why don't you take us to our next topic, unless Bruce has another comment he wants to put up?
No, I'm excited about that. I'm trying to figure out how long it takes me to drive to Durham from Lynchburg.
Yeah, so Alan, why don't you tell us as you wear your Google Glass?
Oh, that next topic. I forgot I inserted this. Yeah, this one was exciting when I saw.
You forgot a Google Glass topic? Everyone make a note.
And I put this in, just before the show, which would explain why I've forgotten it. Yeah, for those of you who have been dying to try out Google Glass, it sounds like they're taking the show on the road, basically. So a number of Glass guides are going to be touring the country. introducing Google Glass to locals in various cities around the country, discussing how it's used, showing it to you. You know, what a conversation that I had with Jason Salas, who is my co-author in an upcoming book about Google Glass, and who is a frequent panelist here. And Jason, if you're listening, you can always jump in. Has been, how do you explain to people just how awesome Google Glass is? And it's tough. They've produced a bunch of videos that kind of give you this little taste of it, but it's not enough. And Jason keeps saying, oh, we could do this. You know, we could create an app on a PC or on Android that will give you an idea of what it does and how it does it. Yeah, sort of, but you miss the feel. The big thing about Glass that makes it so different than anything else is the fact that it's just there. You don't have to think about, oh, that chime, you know, that was my email chime, I need to check my email. You pull it out, you unlock your phone, you look, oh, that was a worthless email. With Glass, it's just there. You get the chime, you take a quick glance, do you care? Yes, no, you move on with your life. So they've realized the best way to learn about Glass is to see it, to touch it, to wear it. Mm-hmm. And what they've started doing is they've started these tours. So the first location that they're bringing it to was, where did you say it was, Bruce?
Durham, North Carolina, October
North
the 5th.
Carolina.
Yeah.
So if you're in the Durham, North Carolina area, we've posted the link to our show notes, or you can look for the Google Glass page on Google+, and from there you can get the link and sign up to take a look yourself. I encourage you to go take a look. It is cool. It is fun. You'll like it.
Are you going to do that, Bruce?
You know what? You know, I'm going to be. You know, I travel some, and I've already clicked to follow them, so I'm interested to find out when and where they're going to be. And you can find them on Google+. They have I guess it's a page, and on Glass, and you can click follow and get updates on where they're going to be. Yeah, if there was something, you know, if it was someplace like in Charlotte or Roanoke, you know, Greensboro, yeah, I'd check it out.
So yeah, unfortunately, they've only posted their first stop so far.
Right.
So we don't know where else they're going to be. But we do also know that, you know, one of the neat things is that we've seen the developers are also hitting the road. So we've had, you know, they have a weekly or every other week developer workshop for developers in the San Francisco area. They've been to New York to help with the developers there, and we've had some, you know, cool party hangouts as well. They've been to Austin, they've been to Chicago, so they're trying to reach out to developers around the country as well. And now they're saying, hey, we want to reach out to everybody else and show you just how cool this tool is. I'm excited to see. I'm curious to see pictures and hear experiences.
Yeah, and Raleigh-Durham is the Golden Triangle, so there's a lot of technology-based, you know, companies in that area. So it's a good place for them to go.
Yeah, I think it's clear they're picking their locations carefully.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, awesome. So are we at the moment?
Well, I you know, Dan, you asked me a question earlier in the show. Well, you kind of said we should do a test, that I should pose, you know, I should make a post with a bunch of pages from War and Peace, and in the middle of it, stick the word Chromecast.
Oh yeah, what's the status of that?
The status of that is I did it, and we had some comments from people on my post. So my friend Allison said that was a little bit surreal.
Chapter 2 is coming up tomorrow, Allison.
Jason suggested that we should have done Rime of the Ancient Mariner instead.
Huh.
And we had one more comment that has now disappeared. And Phil asked, did the test work?
God forbid we should address that issue.
So we'll tell you the results of the test. It did not pick up Chromecast. In fact, it didn't give any hashtags at all.
Well, that gets to my other question. How long does it take for these things to populate?
They tended to pop up pretty quickly the times that I've seen it. So the fact that this didn't give it any hashtags at all, and they're still not there.
You think they turned us off because they're trolling us, they're watching us, and they wanted our test to fail?
I will never rule out the fact that they are trying to humiliate you, Dan, but there are so many easier ways to humiliate you.
Yeah, you can just watch the show.
Nate Swanner does it all the time.
We have a trolling contest going, and mine are funnier than his. He's better live. I'm better in posts.
So this clearly isn't conclusive, but here was my comment on this whole thing. Yeah, it was a bit surreal, but I wanted to. It was quickly, so I had to come up with it. You specifically asked for War and Peace, so I grabbed a chapter, and it certainly seems to have proved the point that I'm right.
I was right. You were right, and Dan is the other thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. Okay. So let me.
So Dan.
Well, I got one other quick fun thing first. So if you could pop another time code in there real quick.
Okay.
This was hysterical. Neely Patel tweeted this. It was a Verge article I shared. So Martha Stewart. This is epic. So here's her tweet. Let me share the screen. She tweets on the September 25. I just dropped my iPad on the ground and shattered 2 glass corners. What to do? Does one call Apple to come and pick it up, or do I take it? Now Craig said that they will, in the article they said, like, if you're a disabled person, an elderly person, you can't make it down. They are known to send an Apple person to actually come get your stuff and fix it. If you're in the Apple Care program, I guess they have. And this the next is she's about to go. Please tune in to learn about fall gardening. And then here's the kicker. I am still waiting for an Apple rep to come pick up my iPad. No action yet. My paraphrasing here. She misspelled it. And then great anti-aging tips from beauty experts on my Sirius XM show. And then maybe I have had a good entrepreneurial idea. Apple Now, like same-day delivery from Amazon. I think I'm onto something. Same-day fix it. And then more stuff, Martha Stewart stuff. And then so is it time to put out the fires and admit I was just pissed off at the fact my precious iPad shattered and I wanted to make light of it? And then she says, apparently Apple reached out to her. I say politely, I cannot believe that Apple Public Relations is mad at me for tweeting about my iPad and how to get it fixed. Steve Jobs gave it to me. And then she said, she backtracks, and then I guess they said whatever. And then she says...
she's obviously not backtracking hard enough because she didn't delete the tweets.
Right. Well, I mean, she has millions of followers, so there's no deleting a tweet, right?
Sure,
Barbara Streisand learned that.
Lots of companies do that.
Yeah, but that would just, Barbara Streisand effect. So, but it is impossible, so I will deal with it all silently and hope that Apple will fix everything so I can function again with proper tools. And then she says... let's talk turkey. iPad's addictive, awesome, expensive. Glass should be unbreakable. That the iPad works with cracked corners is great. So she kind of like backtracked a bit. I think it's hysterical. The issue Apple probably had was the fact that if you're a celebrity, that they'll come out and give you special treatment. But every company does that. It was just funny. And Neil A. Patel's tweet today was hilarious, thinking about Apple PR reps yelling at Martha Stewart for tweeting about her cracked iPad. I just thought, I don't know, this was just fun. But
we actually have a story that we skipped over earlier that we really should get back to because it's actually
we can do that.
An important story.
Sure. You want to do that, and then I'll do my bear?
Well, then we'll go to how your Google Plus week was, and you can talk about the bear.
Absolutely. Okay, go
you
ahead.
Can bear it all, Dan.
Go ahead.
Okay, so the story that we held, because we were hoping Moritz would return, is the fact that Hangout Toolbox version 2 has now officially been released. It is now the Hangout Toolbox for everybody. And it's received a privileged place because just about everybody in the cosmos uses this app. All of the excellent comments that you've seen Bruce bring up this evening have been done through the Hangout Toolbox version 2 comment tracker. The lower thirds that we frequently bring up are using Hangout Toolbox. It's got audio controls. It's got some video controls. It is an awesome, awesome toolkit.
It's important to note that it's a collaborative project as well.
It is a collaborative.
Moritz took a bunch of different, like Gerwin.
Well, Moritz headed it up, and this version 2 is a total rewrite from previous versions. So although it's based on work that Gerwin has done, on work that I've done, it is a total rewrite from the ground up. Moritz headed up the rewrite project. I believe Robert Pitt and a couple of other people have contributed to it. But this is a total rewrite from the ground up. easier to use, more beautiful, which is the keyword that we always hear. So if you have not tried out Hangout Toolbox before, where have you been? Try it out. It's awesome. Bruce, I see you nodding.
Yeah, it really was. And, just like this great template here from Michael, Bruce, Greensboro is about 30 minutes from Durham. So you have that, and then you also have, just so that, the lower third thing, which I've put up now. And what I really like is the volume thing, because I'm in Hangouts a lot during the day, and yet I'm working. And so if I'm having a conversation with somebody, and I'll go ahead and well, I'm not sure if it will get the parallax effect here or not, but so this is my screen. So on the volume thing, I can click one button and it automatically mutes everybody, because I use some of my same sound devices for my Cisco IP communicator or for Microsoft Link, if I'm having a video conference, and rather than having to shut down the Hangout, I can just click and mute everybody. But I just wanted to demonstrate what it was like to see all the volume things go down. Or if I thought, Dan's not making any sense, see, I can mute just Dan right now.
Don't tell Craig that. Don't tell Craig about that feature.
Right. So anyway, yeah, I concur. Hangout Toolbox is awesome.
Yeah, I think it's probably the best app by far for Hangouts. It's the I posted earlier in the last week. It's the go-to app for every Hangout show that we do, because it's that tool for integration. This is an interactive medium, and instead of us having to go have a bunch of tabs open, we can have it right in the Hangout. It's just genius. Yeah. And I think
I had a question for Alan. Alan, how were you able to bring in those comments from your post on Google Plus into the show the way you were doing that?
That's easy. I basically said that the source for the comments was my post.
All right.
And you can do that for any post that you want.
Wow.
So you tell it what post you want to follow, add the post, it'll add all of the comments as they come in.
Hey, that's great.
It's not just, the comment tracker that Gerwin developed is not just for Hangouts. It's known for that, but it actually is for any post, and it captures all the shares. So if you have a post, if you're curious, like if you had something with 20 shares, or you're on the What's Hot list and you have 1,000 shares, whatever, you could put the original post in there and click Include Reshares, and it populates, and you can in one place quickly and easily look at every single comment that in any public post or any public share of the post. It's a very cool tool. But it is most awesome when used with Hangouts, because it's integrated, and it's great to be able to, like Alan said earlier, and we've all said a million times, the comments we get are as much a part of the show as anything we say, and often very more perceptive than an idea we hadn't thought of. It's great. So kudos to them for continuing to develop it and make it even better, because it was great before. It's super awesome now from what I'm seeing. So
Dan, how was your Google Plus week?
Okay, this is the moment we've been waiting for. You guys won't see
or should we do Bruce and me first, and then we'll ask how your Google Plus week was? Now, how was your Google Plus week?
All right, my Google Plus week was pretty cool. So here's what happened. So Wednesday, we print our paper every other Thursday night. So Wednesday, I got a call from a guy. He says he thought it'd be an interesting human interest story that a black bear had killed a deer in his yard at 2 a.m. And
this is a human interest story?
Well,
neck of the woods?
That's his words. It's interesting. But what's the humorous part of this is the guy, he was he heard he said the bleating of a deer in distress, bleating, like the noise a deer makes when they're being attacked, and he heard a growl, from a bear at the same time. But he was actually watching Ted Cruz's filibuster on C-SPAN or whatever channel at the time, and so he didn't go to check on it. And it turns out that a bear killed.
You're saying Tim Cruz was more interesting than a bear?
I would much rather watch a bear killing a deer than Ted Cruz talking about green eggs and ham. I'm not making that up. He did, and then another senator came on and disputed his interpretation of green eggs and ham, and I'm thinking like the U.S. Senate probably costs like $10 million a minute to run, and we have U.S. senators discussing the true meaning of green eggs and ham. But not to get off on a rare tangent for me, but anyway, so I went there, and I mean there was blood and guts and bear poop from one end of the yard to the other. So something happened, and something killed the deer, and giant, obviously a bear had been present because it left its poop. So I was talking to a councilman who's like a local guy, and because there's bears all over here. We're right next to Skyline Drive. We probably have more bears here than anywhere in Virginia. So I was talking to this town councilman, friend of mine. I was like, what's the deal? I mean, do they kill deer? Is that common? And he hadn't heard of that. And then just then, coincidentally, the police chief walks in. And so I asked him, I know him too. And he's like, no, I don't think it's that common. And so then I went to the police station because the chief's a hunter and he knows this stuff. And he said, yeah, they'll kill him. So the thought then is like, well, are children safe? So I went back around the guy's house. I drove on one side, the backyard of the house, and I saw the bear. This is 3:30 in the afternoon. Kids, I'm passing a bunch. I'm driving real slow because there's kids walking home from school. About about the size of the 6-month-old half-grown deer that was killed at 2 a.m. that morning, probably by this same bear. And the guy knows how old it is because the deer was born in his yard, and frequently spent there and often slept there. So I think that's what happened. The bear was, saw a sleeping deer and got a quick meal. So I go around, and then I see the guy standing in his yard scooping up the bear poop. And I said, sir, the bear's right there. It was like 50 feet from him. And he's like, are you serious? And he looks over, he's like, and of course he's armed with his bear pooper scooper from Lowe's probably. And so anyway, I want to play this. There's it's about 90 seconds, 2 different videos, but I'll cut the first one, and then so it'll be about like 45 seconds or something probably. But here's the first video. You guys in the Hangout won't see it, but you can watch it later. But basically, it's a bear in this guy's yard. So here we go.
Are we muted while this is happening?
Yes, we're all muted while this is happening.
Okay.
Here we go. It's just minding its own business. All right, so that's the first part. And then the second part, I'm discussing the poop with I think this is funny. So this is a much shorter video, but this is, it shows where I was at first apprehensive because I thought the bear would be nervous of me. And it was in no way concerned at all with me. And I got right up on it. I mean, I'm right there. I'm in my car, of course, and, weapons. But I rolled the window down and had the phone out there. So this is the second one where I'm joking with the guy. What he said to me, you can't hear him as well as you can hear me because I'm right next to the phone. He's not. But he said, tell it not to poop in the yard, because he's been scooping up poop all day. Here we go. Let's go with the. So I'm about 30 feet from it, I guess. And you're armed. You got your, what do you got there, a hoe or something? You're ready. What's it eating? Is it eating bird feed or? Oh yeah, because it's right by the feeder. That's the same one, right? Probably getting ready to poop. Here we go.
Apparently, you have a Ford, Dan.
Yeah, I have a Ford Taurus. So that is the bear. And then the interesting part of this is, and then you guys, I'm curious what you guys think. I don't know if I guess there's not many, I don't know, maybe there are bears in New York. I'm sure in Lynchburg you see them, Bruce. But here's the deal. I asked the cops, because we live next to a national park, right? And there's probably a greater concentration of bears in Shenandoah National Park than anywhere in Virginia. And it's probably one of the biggest concentrations, on the East Coast. So when you move here, it's like moving to Florida and then freaking out about the alligators. I mean, you move to Florida. So, it's just something. Like, there's one, I have a cookout tomorrow, and I'm going to be cooking food, and we have a 350-pound bear. That's about the size of this one, 350, that is hanging out. It was sniffing at my door, and it's on all the neighbors' porches. It's just something we deal with, But it's their neighborhood first, right? So it's nature, just like a stray cat or dog, whatever. But they're just big. And there have been cases in other states, one recently where a child was mauled by a bear, but in Virginia there has never been a recorded case of a black bear being killing a person, ever, that we know of. So that's comforting. But I am seeing more bears. I'm seeing them not at all afraid. Like this character here, it was in no way intimidated by me or no way shy of me. So I asked the cops, and one of the cops said, "Look, here's the deal." He said, "We got to call the dumpster behind Kmart, right? This is usually caused because people are not securing their trash and making it bear proof. The bear's looking for food, and if you put food out, it's going to come get the food. So it's really our fault." But they're behind Kmart shopping center, and he says, so they call us out there. And there's a big bear. It's been coming there a lot. It's tearing up the dumpster, and they're nervous about, some whatever, all the things you'd be nervous about if there's a freaking bear in Kmart. But he said, okay, so I'm standing there, and the law says they can't kill the bear. I mean, if it's mauling you, they can shoot. But in general, they can shoo it away. They can yell and scream. And that's what they did with this bear. This is on a very well-populated street. Kids, 5 and a 7-year-old across the street playing, smaller than the deer it had killed that morning. And they just literally, the cops came and they shoot it down the road, yelling and screaming, sirens, whatever they could do to just kind of get it out of the way. And they shoot it down one street, took a side street, and then down the street until finally it went into some woods. But the cops said, look, you got a school there, you got a church there, you've got a shopping center on the other side because they were behind Kmart. If I, shot the bear in the ass with a beanbag or something, and it runs freaking out, what if it runs into a school and kills a kid? Am I liable? What if it goes into the church? What if it goes into Kmart? I caused it. So I'm on the stand sued, the town sued, and they're going to say, well, sir, can you show me your certificate where you're trained in how to deal with a bear emergency? There's no such thing. So what do you do? And they don't have the right to kill them, and really they shouldn't be killing them. There's nowhere to take them. They can't trap them and move them. If the state comes and traps them, it's a death sentence, the guy told me. He said, because there's just nowhere left because there's so many of them now. So I just was, this is, to me, I find them awesome. I find it's so cool to see one. It's fascinating to see them right in some dude's yard. And this is literally from the police station parking lot, right in downtown Front Royal. You can see this guy's house where the bear was, right in the parking lot, right downtown. This is not, the plains. Any thoughts on this? Because this, Bruce, you're in Lynchburg, and there's lots of rural area around you, and bears are, I'm sure a part of your life. What do you think about this? Anything?
No, it's
Are you worried at all? I mean, there's never been a death.
No, I'm not worried. I mean, when I do some hiking and backpacking, some overnighters, weekends in the Appalachian Trail, and you have to use some caution about hanging your food up and stuff like that. But I mean, there's some people who carry bear spray, in case they happen to, run into a bear that's a little more aggressive. But it's interesting, this whole issue of wildlife management, and making certain that, like in North Florida, for instance, on the North Florida border and the Georgia border, there's this big Okefenokee swamp, and they have a bear hunt, and there's a lottery, and there's only a certain number of people who are able to hunt, but you have to have a way to thin the herd, whether it's a deer herd or whatever. And part of wildlife management is making certain that this herd or this group of bears has enough food to maintain their health and cut down on disease and so forth. So, but it's kind of interesting as they get as the population grows, you're going to have more of these run-ins. Alan's got a picture of.
Let me introduce this.
It should really be called human management, Bruce, not wildlife management, because we're the problem. Not leaving your trash unattended and putting it out 2 days ahead of time and then bitching about the bears.
It's not as simple as that.
Yeah, it's not as simple as that. We are pushing more and more into their habitat. I mean, this is a story here about from 2010. Headline is Black Bear on Prowl Within 3 Miles of Manhattan. Basically, within about 3 miles of the George Washington Bridge. So actually probably isn't too far from where Streak lives. In 2010, there was a black bear on the prowl. I think not a year goes by when we don't have some story of a black bear in some New Jersey community. And I have this vague memory of them talking about an actual black bear hunting permits available in New Jersey. So these are real issues and real things that are out there. We've moved into their habitat and we're not moving out. So
Yeah, I believe it's a both and thing. I mean, I agree with you, Dan. I believe there's some human management as well, but there's the other side too. And when you describe the location of where this bear was, right downtown within the view of the the police department's parking lot. So it's not like you've built way out in the middle of the woods and
Grizzly
putting
Adams,
up 6-acre sites and stuff like that.
It's strange, but to us, the thing that got me was because I've always said black bears, don't worry about them. I mean, just have a healthy respect for nature, right? You don't walk up to a black bear and start petting her cub, right? But at the same time, the thought of one killing a fawn that was asleep, we assumed was asleep because it was 2 a.m. and the fawn, or not a fawn, it was a 6-month-old deer. And I don't know, it's just I was literally staring at the bear. I looked over this way, and I saw kids playing in the park about 100 yards away, oblivious to the bear. I looked across, and there was a 5 and a 7-year-old little girl, 3 houses down, and a bunch of kids, because this was at 3:45 in the afternoon. As I drove there were tons of kids walking around. It just was like, my God, I hope we don't end our streak of safety with these things in Virginia, but I just fear, and the fact that I've always been told, like, oh, you just make a noise and they'll run away scared. This bear was not at all scared of me. I mean, I had my car running, and I'm driving up to it to 20 feet. That's invading your space if you're a wild animal, and it barely looked up. It couldn't care less.
Well, I'm just glad you kept your bearing.
Yeah, I'm very glad that somehow you were able to bear all of the problems. Jody, how was your Google Plus week?
I had a very interesting week this week. A lot of stuff going on personally. My daughter, my youngest, I had to move her into college this week.
Congratulations.
So,
how did you bear that?
How did you bear the expense?
The expense is the killer, and I don't think I'm alone in, this issue of how much it costs. So
you'll claw your way through it somehow. I'm
well,
sorry,
I wanted
that's my
her to commute.
NASCAR analogy.
No, seriously, I wanted her to commute, and her dad decided that she should get an apartment in Philadelphia. So he's taking care of that part of it, and I'm supposed to pay for everything else. Well, food and everything is really expensive. It's just crazy. So
damn, they expect to eat at college?
I don't know what the. Well, I gave her money, and it's already gone, and she's been there 4 days. So I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking. I thought $100 would last more than 4 days, but for a college kid.
Time
How
to
much do
fill
you
her
think?
Google Wallet.
I know, right? Wow. But yeah. Oh, by the way, Gregory Lewis had a comment in the comment thing. I don't know if you saw it. He wanted to know if it's illegal to kill bears.
No, it's okay. During hunting season, you can kill bears, right? But in town, there's no hunting allowed. You can't discharge even. In fact, we were discussing this various topic with the town councilman because we were talking about this particular bear, and he said you can't even fire illegally in Front Royal, Virginia. You cannot fire a slingshot, a BB gun, nothing, because you can't fire a weapon within like 500 feet of a dwelling, and virtually the entire town you're within 500 feet of a dwelling. So during the hunting season, they're trying to work with the state to create a wildlife management plan where they can do things like they do with the deer, where they'll bring in a trained archery club at night that, they're semi-pros or whatever, and they can take the deer down without endangering any people. They're pros, they know what they're doing. It's all sanctioned by the state because the population, just with no predators, it just gets crazy. So there is a bear season, and there's no problem with the bearskin thing. But if a bear is just wandering around and is not in a hunting area and it's not hunting season, then it's illegal for the cops to shoot it. They could get charged themselves.
Wow. And John Pankhurst said that if you're a Native American, it's not illegal, he thinks. But I think you already cleared that one up, though, Dan. I'm
not sure how that works, but I know that you could be, Chief Joseph, and if you're in the town of Front Royal and you kill a bear out of, you're going to have a problem. There are certain things that are true, like the law against possessing any kind of bird of prey, like a bald eagle feather, that sort of thing. That's against the law. In fact, I think there was a story. It was Secretary of Interior or somebody who actually had a decorative Indian thing or something on his wall, and he didn't even realize it was an eagle feather in there. And he I don't know if he got in trouble or was chastised for it, or it was just brought to his attention or whatever. But technically, that's illegal to possess that. But Native Americans that use it, spiritually, since we basically like poisoned them and stole their land and killed most of them, I think they should be allowed to hunt a bear now and then. Some small. Okay, obviously this is awkward.
Someone's ringing in.
Sorry, that was me. Okay, here we go again. Now it's ringing in every freaking tab.
You know what the Sheets convenience stores are here? Really nice convenience stores, and they sell bear claws, and it's a little pastry.
How was your Google Plus week, Bruce?
Oh, it's been a great Google Plus week. I spent a lot of times in Hangouts with the Tech and Coffee guys. A lot of these guys are tier 2 and 3 support for like Wells Fargo Bank, British Telecom. Some of them are web developers, and they're on the West Coast and all over. And a lot of them are telecommuters like me, and they work from home. And we have just a great time sharing. And we've had a lot of fun this week talking about Chromebooks. And there's a number, like that, Green Bay has permission to kill bears. Oh, but anyway, and more of us have been getting Chromebooks, and I know you've got the Pixel and love it. And I'll tell you what, it is such a fun device, and I've really been enjoying a Chromebook community on Google Plus and learning a lot of really great tips and being able to share things that I found. For instance, this week I finally switched from the stable version to the beta version because there was ability to select certain different audio devices. And I found that when I would plug like the Audio-Technica ATR 2100 into the Chromebook, the mic volume was low. But when I got to the beta version, I was able to select that particular device. The mic volume was good. And I got that tip, from the Chromebook community on Google Plus. So it's been a great, rewarding Google Plus.
That's why I should probably find out which community exactly, because to be honest, I don't love my Pixel. I like my Pixel, but I don't love it. I suffer assorted problems with it, which are somewhat frustrating at times. And today I saw, this week I had a lot of problems with the photo uploader, which was kind of frustrating.
Yeah.
I think it's a great, it's a decent laptop. I certainly have fewer problems with my Chrome devices than I do with my Mac devices these days. but it's not wow, this is just the greatest device ever, because it's not. It's decent though.
Well, I'm doing a trade show in Atlanta. I'll be in the Gwinnett Arena Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and I'm going to run our whole booth with my Chromebook. I'm taking my Chromecast. I downloaded the extension YouTube Options, so we've got a corporate promotional video spot, and with the YouTube Options, I can loop it, and then I'm going to demo our website using the Chromebook HDMI. We're going to use a wireless keyboard, Logitech wireless keyboard and mouse, powered by USB on the Chromebook. I'm gonna have the Chromebook down on the floor underneath the table. You won't even see it there, but it's gonna do all the tech in our booth. So I'm looking forward to it. I've already tested all this out. It works great.
Awesome.
Alan, how was your Google Plus week?
It was okay. It's been a pretty busy week, and I have not been as active as I often like to be. The good parts about it, though, are issues that I came up with, like this problem I had with my Pixel. I was able to share it, and I had people commenting to help me out pretty quickly. So it's great that I have a great community of people that I know, that I'm friends with, and who can help me out on those things. So that's always wonderful. To close, and Dan, this is your cue that we're getting ready to close, shockingly enough, before midnight. A lot of our usual fan base will notice that one of our regular panelists has been missing this evening. Pam isn't been with us tonight because she is on a road trip with a bunch of other women from Google+. They're in San Francisco today, and we know they're in San Francisco because we've gotten pictures. And pictures of Pam, we understand, can be dangerous, but I think this one is relatively safe to show. This was taken at the, let me hit screen share before I actually switch tabs. This was taken at the Google Plus Auto Awesome booth on the Google campus. And we can clearly see Pam in the middle of this collection of Google Plus women.
Do you recognize anybody else?
I know at least a couple of other people there, although I probably could not point them all out to you. But in fact, I was not alerted to this one by Pam. I was alerted to this picture by somebody else who was there. It looks
like a dance I saw at Burning Man one time.
You go to Burning Man, Bruce. That's an interesting concept all to itself.
Do you think there was beer flowing?
Well, this was on the Google campus, so probably not yet. This is actually it was even morning on the West Coast when this was taken. So
yeah, but she has a beer called breakfast beer. I wouldn't put it past her.
This is true, and I certainly wouldn't rule it out. But no, I think this is just what happens when you get a gaggle of good friends together, and
I don't know if gaggle's the most flattering word I would have used, but
and you get in front of a camera.
That's funny.
So Pam isn't able to join us tonight, but I think this more than does it justice.
I'm sure she and all her gaggle of friends are watching the show from afar.
And
I just hope Pam's not driving.
That's our Google Plus week.
Hey, that's awesome. Thank you all so very much.
And Dan, you need to unmute your microphone before you start speaking.
I'm not muted.
You still need to unmute your microphone. That, or I guess I'm going to take us out for the evening.
Well, hang on. Okay, so you muted
me. Or we're going to wait for Dan to actually figure out what he's saying.
He just gave you the finger.
How do I unmute myself?
You muted him, Alan.
Oh, I got the wrong
mouse.
Yes,
I did, but I muted him because it was.
No, I got to unmute.
What was going on? He could unmute.
Hang on. Give me 1 second. No. Okay, I had the wrong mouse. They can hear me, but
maybe he muted us.
How do I? Jeez. Oh,
actually, maybe the live feed can.
All right.
What was that? There you go, Dan.
Sorry. Okay, so anyway, they could hear me the whole time, so they think you're all crazy. But and then I had the wrong mouse because I have 2 computers, and anyway, that's.
And they're both ghetto.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, folks, thanks so much. I appreciate the panel. Appreciate all the comments. It was a fun show tonight, and I know I've criticized TV news organizations for spending like 5 minutes teasing a 15-second YouTube clip and running in the last block, and we did like the exact same thing. But at least mine was longer than that. But it was worth it. And most people watch after. It's literally 10 to 1. 10 times as many people watch after. 20 times as many people watch after than during. But we still got a good live audience, so they can click right to the bear thing if they're interested. But anyway, thanks so much. I appreciate it. Google Plus Week is every Friday at 8:30ish Eastern, 5:30ish Pacific, on Google Plus and YouTube Live. Also, our other program, Our Android Week, where we talk about all things Android. That is Monday nights, usually on time or close to it, 9 p.m. Work with me here. I've survived a vicious bear attack.
Oh, I am working with you here, Dan. I'm only laughing at you, not, saying other obscenities.
Not laughing with you.
I'm impressed with your restraint, I guess, is the best way I can spin this.
I can rant. You want me to rant? Do you want me to rant?
Popcorn time. So anyway, thanks, folks. Our Android Week is
forbearing
Monday
you.
nights. Yeah, bear necessities. Thank you all for watching. We appreciate it. And until next time, we want to wish all of you a wonderful, epic, super awesome Google Plus
Google
Week.
Plus